taken away. I don't know. But here we are.
You're all charged.
All charged. We're all good. Okay, everyone. This is exciting. We start a whole new year of Thursday night Shir. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niveh dvarim. Machaya. Water is always good. Okay. So we are holding over here. We're going to start, and I still owe to finish the Tashlach. I am not giving up on that. Be aware, next week, Thursday, we won't be here. Monday night, there won't be class either. I plan on doing the Parsha class on Sunday night, so we don't miss more than 1 week. So the Parsha, my live class should be 8 o'clock on Sunday. Monday night, Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm not going to be here till the following Wednesday, so there's no Thursday night share either. Okay. We are ready to begin. So, Parshas Bereshis this year. Rarely do we have Bereshis to learn, because sometimes we have it such a short, we go right. But this week we did have a Bereshis week, but we learned already, Baruch Hashem, all the mimer malakut in Torah Or. It would take us back to the book Torah Or, which is the first half of the Alter Rebbe's set of Torah Or and Lakuti Torah for the Parshas of the Torah. But we finished all the discourses on Bereshis. Actually, the next mimer we have in Torah Or that we didn't do is all the way Parshas Vayeshev. It's almost the end of Bereshis. So till then, we're going to find other things to learn. Meanwhile, Parshas Bracha, which we read on Simchas Torah just 2 days ago, we never learn, because it's always in the middle of Sukkot, we never get to it. And there's a whole bunch of juicy mimerim over there. So this mimer is a mimer on Parshas Bracha, but it's all about Parshas Bereshis, so it's really cool. It really connects the end to the beginning, just like we do on Simchas Torah. Truth be told, after I selected the mimer, there's 2 Mizmor Shir Chanukas. Now, in Parshas Bracha, the last 2 mimerim in Lakutei Torah, aside for Shir Hashirim, Song of Songs, which is a section later, aside for the mimerim Shir Hashirim, Parshas Bracha is the last. In Bracha, there are 2 mimerim beginning with the heading Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habais LeDavid, which is a song that David HaMelech sang. Now, what it has to do with Parshas Bracha, I don't know, because it's a pasuk in Tehillim. Why is it the song that David HaMelech is singing, Aramim Hashem Kidilisani? I don't know its connection to Parshas Bracha. I'm sure there is some kind of an explanation why it's in Parshas Bracha, but it's interesting, it relates more to Bereshis than it does to Bracha. Now, this mimer that's printed over here, so there were 2 of them. First, I thought of teaching the last mimer of Bracha, which would be the second Mizmor Shir, which is a fascinating mimer, but then I said, you know what, let's do this one first. It's also a very interesting mimer. But after I started learning it, I realized this is so familiar, and I realized that I think 2 years ago, Hanukkah, I taught this mimer, but not in Lakutei Torah. I taught the same mimer in the Siddur. This is the Siddur from the Alter Rebbe. Meaning, just like there is a Sefer on the Torah, there's the Sefer Maimarim on the Siddur. The Maimarim that are on the Siddur, many of the Maimarim in the Siddur are the same Maimarim that you have in Lakutei Torah, just different version. This is the version of the Mittler Rebbe. The Mittler Rebbe style of writing, even the ones that he heard from his father, he wrote very, very lengthy. Great expansion. The other writers, the Alter Rebbe's brother, the Maril, Rabbi Yehuda Leib, and his son Reb Moshe, the Mittler Rebbe's brother, and some other Chassidim like Rav Pinchas of Shklov and others who wrote, their style was more concise. Meaning, I don't want to say concise, is not the right word, more concentrated. The Mittler Rebbe was more expansive. So this mimer, Mizmor Shir Chanukas, is printed in the Siddur on Chanukah, because it deals with Chanukas Habais, with the rededication of, and that's what Chanukah is all about. The mimer actually talks about Chanukah too. So 2 years ago or 3 years ago on Chanukah, I taught the mimer from the Siddur, and we taught it in 2 weeks. It's longer. It's Gavaldiga mimer, and so it's the same mimer, mamish. Just here it's This one that's printed over here, I think, is the Hanacha of the Maril, the Alter Rebbe's brother. The Tzemach Tzedek took his mimer and put it in here. It's a good review, and I don't think anybody remembers what we learned 3 years ago at Hanukkah, or at least not anybody was here. I don't know if you were there then. If you want a longer version, perhaps you can go to my website, look on the Hanukkah, and find the Mizmor Shir in the Siddur. But today when I prepared, I didn't prepare very long, but Baruch Hashem, this was a smoother read, not so Kabbalistic, very, 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 very enticing to pull everybody in to come to this class. It's a really smooth mimer. But when I learned it, I learned briefly. I learned also the Ramosha's version, and I learned the Mittler Rebbe's version. I didn't finish it, but hopefully we can bring in the pieces that are, each one says, it's really a Gavaldig mimer. It's one of my favorite mimerim. So let's read. Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habais LeDavid. It's a song that David HaMelech sang. We say it every day in Shachris, after Hoidu. We say Mizmor Shir. It begins on the page 194, second column on the bottom. Second column on the bottom. Mizmor Shir. It's Psalm 30. In Tehillim, it is a Psalm 30. It's a song that David HaMelech composed in honor of the Beis HaMikdash. Now, even though for the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash, this is the temple of Solomon, of Shlomo HaMelech. Now, even though David HaMelech didn't see the temple, he only prepared the outline of it. He bought the real estate. He did and he made the design, or at least started the design, or whatever. But the actual building of it was only done through Shlomo HaMelech, because Hashem didn't let David HaMelech build it. Shlomo HaMelech had to build it. David HaMelech prepared already the song that would be played by the opening. He was a composer. He loved music. And he was the one who already made the song for the Chanukas Habais, what they would sing. And we sing that every day before Baruch She'amar Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habais. So what does he say over there? Aramimcha Hashem. I will exalt you, God. I will elevate you, Hashem. I will sing your praises, and thereby elevating you. Kidilisani, because you've elevated me. Dilisani, you've lifted me up. You did not allow my enemies to rejoice over me. So the Alter Rebbe has a very interesting explanation. Who are the enemies that cannot rejoice over me? So the Alter Rebbe says, and it's based on the Midrash. Believe it or not. These are the oldest enemies we have. These are such enemies. We always have enemies who want to obliterate us, the Jewish people. But these are the enemies that never wanted to allow us to be in the first place. These wanted to destroy us before we even came into existence. These are the enemies of the human race. These are the angels. Because they tried to dissuade Hashem from creating us. Rashi says this week in the Parsha, when Hashem created human, Hashem consulted with the angels. Rashi says this teaches us that you're always supposed to consult before you do something. Shows you humility. But what I picked up on this year, which I never picked up on, is maybe you're supposed to consult like God consults. He consults and don't listen to the consultation. He does what he wants anyways. So it says the angels said, don't create. And then Hashem created anyways. The angel said, who is man? What's this human you're so crazy about? You're so excited about. You're creating a human? What's so great about this human? He's going to be a total failure. That's what the angel said. This is going to fail. It's not going to work. So, and he's going to explain, so what's the relationship of that to the Beis HaMikdash? So let's see. So that's the connection I said to Parshas Bereshis. Because this week in the Parsha, God has the argument with the angels. Create or not create. At the time when man was created, the Malachim were the ones who argued against it. By the way, I forgot to say, today's class is dedicated by Mrs. Miriam Fishman. This is in honor of her father. Let me get the name. Give me 1 second. Father's yahrzeit. Let me just pick up. Oh, not here. Probably was a text. I'm sorry. Please give me 1 minute. Here we go. Tuvia Velvel ben Meir. May his neshama have an aliyah. The yard is going to be on Shabbos, which then is today's Chav Hey, tonight is Chav Zayin Tishrei. May his neshama have a very great aliyah to the greatest of heights. May he send to you, Mrs. Fishman, and to your family, much beracha, much you channel down, much blessings, and for all that you need, all that you want. Schus of the mitzvah of starting the Thursday night share for the whole year. That's a great schus. Okay, thank you for that. Now we go back to the learning. So the Malachim were the ones who argued against the creation of man. They said, what is man that you should remember him? Who is man? Stated in Medrash Rabbah in Bereshis Parsha Ches. I didn't look this up, but there it states how the Malachim were giving their arguments that man is going to be a failure and God should not do it. But then, at the time when the Torah was given, and you know what? All along, the angels were kept on like smirking and they're saying, you see? Every time God was getting so upset that he created the human, Adam sinned, and then Cain killed his brother. Then the generations only denigrated and denigrated. Became worse and worse till God had to flood the world. And first he killed a third of humanity, and then he had to flood all of humanity, and then he had to disperse them. And Hashem only had aggravation. All they did, this human being, was give God a headache. And so it was really going downhill. And the angels kept on saying, see, we told you. And in the end, finally, until the Torah was given. When the Torah was given, and the Jews received the Torah, suddenly, wow! The angels saw the greatness of man. You see, in the beginning, they were arguing against the Torah, because after everything they saw, how weak the human being is, how fickle and weak the human is, and how prone he is to miserable failure, the angels thought, and it's one thing to create a world and to create man, but to give him the greatest gift of all. So this is already what the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, where there's a whole argument between Moshe and the angels. In the end, Moshe wins that argument, that the Torah has to come down into the world. But after Moshe wins, and the Torah comes down here, and God comes down, and the Torah is given in the physical world down here below, the angels conceded and said, hey, you're right. But it wasn't a long-lasting victory, because 40 days later we messed up. And the angel said again, see, we told you, this is not good. It's not going to work out. You already got the Torah, and now again. So, until they built the Mishkan. When they built the Mishkan, they rectified. And then finally the angels were like, okay. So, when the Jewish people said Nasa before Nishma, which is something that only angels are capable of, such a type of a deep commitment to be able to say we will do even before we hear what you're asking. What's the quality of angels? Angels are very close to God, so they're very surrendered. Humans are very rebellious. We have evil inclination because we don't feel God, we feel ourselves. So when human beings achieved such a high level of commitment that we were willing to say, we didn't even have to hear what it says. We're whatever you're going to command us, we're going to do. That baffled the angels that humans are capable of that. And that's why they finally admitted that, they're at least as great as us. But so then they admitted. But then when it came the sin of the golden calf, samchu, they were again rejoiced. They were right. In other words, they rejoice when we fail. 40 days after the giving of the Torah, God spoke to us face to face. Couldn't expect any closer, any greater show of affection and love and honor, how God honored the Jewish people to speak to the Jews face to face. Not through a messenger, directly. And yet 40 days later, it's like minutes after that. So that's why Hafach Libam Kol Kach, they had such a change of heart to become so corrupted. Ach b'shas ma'isa Mishkan. But then when they built the Mishkan, arva simchasam, their joy kind of was slowed down. In other words, their joy of victory overwhelmed. Why? Because the making of the Mishkan is an atonement on the making of the golden calf. It was for that reason that there was gold in the Mishkan. Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert, had a lot of gold. To be an atonement for the gold that was used to make the golden calf. So this is by the Mishkan. But when was this song sung? Where King David, what does he say? David HaMelech says, I'm thanking God when he's inaugurating, he's preparing the song for the inauguration of the temple, which is a couple of 100 years after the Jews built the tabernacle in the desert, the Mishkan in the desert. And yet David HaMelech says, I'm thanking you, God, my enemies did not rejoice over me. It's finally justified that we humans are the ultimate species, greater than anybody else, greater than the angels. This was already proven a few hundred years ago when we made the Mishkan. The Beis Hamikdash is the continuation of the Mishkan. Not only is it the continuation of the Mishkan, it is the full realization and the full manifestation of the Mishkan. So the Mishkan was like a tent, a mobile home. So it's a beginning of the ultimate glory that God shows the human, that God comes to live down here amongst the humans, not amongst the angels. The angels have also participate, we're going to see in the end of the mimer, by coming down here and being part of it. But where is central station? Where is the main habitat of God? In the lowest world, down here below. So that's why David HaMelech sang this by the making of the Beis Hamikdash. That's when it's not only the Jewish people, the human race as a general can claim victory over the angels and justified in our creation. And that's what it's all about. Is that because why did God create a world? That we should build for him a home down here. And that's what we have when we have a Mishkan. We have a Beis Hamikdash. But the question is, who are the builders? Who are the constructors? Who are the machers? Where are we? What's the choice in this ginormous universe, including the spiritual universe? What is the place where God desires most? Could be the angels. They thought it was up there. Say, no, down here. That's why King David says, I'll bring you Beis Hamikdash in the building of the Beis Hamikdash. Mizmor Chanukas Habais, a song for the construction of the house, for the dedication of the house. You did not rejoice your enemies over me. Who are the enemies? These are the angels. They're the ones who gave lodged accusations against man. Now why does it have to do with the building of the temple? Because the building of the Beis Hamikdash, the temple, Inyan Echad, is the same idea. It's one thing in Maisa HaMishkan with making the Mishkan. Okay, Hai Gavna Hevi B'Sefer Erkei HaKinuyim, similar to this idea that Tzemach Tzedek adds, is brought in the book of Kinuyim. It's a type of index book written on Kabbalistic concepts. Shechiber Baal HaMesader Seder Hadoros, HaMachaber Seder Hadoros, the one who made, there's a wonderful book called Sefer Hadoros. Sefer Hadoros is an encyclopedia on Jewish personalities, on great rabbis. It's written a few hundred years ago. So this rabbi who collected, and basically it's not just on personalities, also events that happen, Jewish history kind of, and personalities. That book, Sefer Hadoros, he also wrote other Kabbalistic work. Just check in the mirror. Look up there. So in the part again, I just opened it. I opened it like a second. I can't believe it. No, he's gone. She's gone. That is so frustrating. No, she was locked out. I opened it. And how did it lock again? In any case, say I am beGemara beKedushin, my es oivim bashar, I am beBereshis Rabbi Perik Rundalat. In any case, the Malachim are the ones who are called oivim. They're the enemy. They're the oldest enemy of mankind, because they didn't want us to be created to begin with. And David HaMelech thanks and says, finally, when we built the Beis HaMikdash, David HaMelech says, we've triumphed over the angels. We can finally claim victory, because now the Malachim were moideh. They admitted that the human being, primarily the Jewish people, are superior to the Malachim. So to understand this kitrug, to better understand this kitrug of the Malachim, the kitrug is this, that the Malachim were, making trouble. Accusations. We're holding in the second page. Sha'amru, they said, Mo enosh. The Malachim said, Mo enosh. He brought just earlier this back and forth between the Malachim. The Malachim said, don't create man. Then finally Hashem created man. When Hashem created, dismissed them and just created the human. And then they kept on seeing man miserably failing. They kept on saying, see, we were right. Until Matan Torah. When they saw Matan Torah, they admitted. And then after that, by the Chet Egel, they again complained. They said, hey, you see. And then when we built the Mishkan, which was later completely fortified in the Beis HaMikdash, they completely conceded. So that's what David HaMelech is saying. Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habais, when they were dedicating the Beis HaMikdash, Aremim Hashem, you've lifted me up. You did not allow the angels to rejoice over me, over our failure. Okay. So the oven and Yekitri Gazesha Malach, to understand this accusation of the Malach, this argument of the angels, which they're dismissing the human, and they're saying, who is a human? Now the Malachim are the ones who say this, the angels say this. They're on a higher level than humans. We know that if we see an angel, the famous story with Shimshon's parents, when they saw an angel, they thought they were going to die just because they saw him. Just for seeing an angel, one can be so overwhelmed that they're so amazing. Very, very powerful and very great and very, very holy. Intensely spiritual, not like us. And they're a much higher level than on people, on simple level. So to understand their argument, and what's the answer? The answer is man is superior to them. So to understand this Indian, so to understand this, we need to understand the concept and the idea of angels and souls. What's the difference between them? So we find Shahamalachim oimrim shira. One of the things the angels do all the time is the malachim sing shira. They're always singing to God. We don't find in scripture, in the Navi, it should describe that neshamas sing. It describes that the Jewish people sang. Oz Yashir Moshe, we sang. And at different times it describes how Miriam sang, and this one sang, and different songs. David HaMelech had a song, a shira, and Chana sings shira, and the Devorah sings shira, and there's different shiras that there are. Shlomo HaMelech, shira, shirim. So there is song by humans, but not by neshamas. We don't ever see, now, in the celestial world, in the celestial realm, there are angels, there are souls. So how come when it speaks about the prophets and people who had access to the higher realms of existence and knew what's going on in heaven, they describe how angels are singing, but they never describe that the souls are singing. Why not? Maybe it's because souls don't sing. Maybe singing is a thing that malachim do, but not neshamas. Or be'emes, but it's not that way, because be'emes in truth, gam neshamas oimrim shira. Tamid, the neshamas are actually saying Shira all the time. Actually, we're going to see soon that they're saying even more Shira than the Malachim. The Malachim take a break from their Shira. They sing only at certain times. The Neshamas sing constantly. There's no end to their song. So if the Neshamas are singing, how come? Share. Now, he proves the idea that Neshamas are singing, even though he says it's not stated anywhere in Psukim. It's not stated that they sing. There's constantly elevations. Neshamas are always on the move. They're always going into higher levels. Up and down. What do I mean up and down? For example, on Shabbos, the Neshamas, all the bodiless souls that are in Gan Eden, either because they were here already and they're in Gan Eden, because they never came down, whatever these Neshamas are, when it comes Shabbos, or Yom Tov, or Chodesh, or things like this, a more spiritual, godlier day, it causes the Neshamas to be elevated to much higher levels of connection to God. I mean, you have an aliyah. It's referred to, they go from the lower Gan Eden to the higher Gan Eden. Sometimes it describes even higher. They go up from the higher Gan Eden, which is in the world of Bria, they go into Atzilus. And it says actually, Michael, doesn't bring it here, but in the other mimer, the Mittler Rebbe brings it. Michael, he's the Kohen Gadol, he's the high priest. And he officiates, he burns on the Mizbeach, he brings sacrifices. Who are the sacrifices? The souls of the tzaddikim. He doesn't slaughter them. He offers them up to become absorbed in God. And that means they are oila into Atzilus, into a realm where there is nothing but Hashem. His neshamas become completely integrated into Hashem. And that's aliyahs. So there's all kinds of aliyahs taking place. That's what's happening. And every aliyah, every time a soul soars to higher levels and to higher stations, it's through song. Every elevation is through song. It says in the pasuk, it will be from Chodesh to Chodesh, which means every Rosh Chodesh. What happens? What is the rest of the pasuk? Yavoyu kol basar, all flesh will come leishtachvais lefanai, to bow down to me. So even though B'Pashtus this is referring to when Mashiach will come, and kol basar, all flesh, is referring to who? All flesh is referring to human beings down here. And every Rosh Chodesh and every Shabbos, when Mashiach will come, we will go to the Beis HaMikdash. It says that then, when Mashiach will come, we will have Aliyah L'Regel, going to the temple, not just 3 times a year. We will go every Shabbos and every Rosh Chodesh. There'll be a lot of pilgrimages. All the time we will be going. So that's the simple meaning. But it says in Sifrei Kabbalah, maybe the Zohar, the sources, it's referring to the Aliyah. Kol Basar doesn't only mean the flesh down here, it's referring to the souls. That they're elevated even now, every Shabbos and every Rosh Chodesh. Where do they go? To the higher Gan Eden. That's what it means, Leishtachavois Lefanai, bowing down before me in the higher Gan Eden. Because we know there's primarily 2 levels of Gan Eden, even though there's really gazillion levels of Gan Eden, but they're broken into 2 main compartments. The lower Gan Eden and the higher Gan Eden. The lower Gan Eden, the world of formation, the world of Yetzirah, and the higher Gan Eden, the world of Bria. And the Shabbos go up. But then they go up, and then they go back down. They return after Shabbos, they go back down. Then they return back to Gan Eden. I mean, everybody has another because we know that the Rishayim, the wicked, leave Gehenna, leave purgatory. Everybody goes up higher. The Neshamas that are in the lower Gan Eden go up to the higher Gan Eden. But then they go back. So when they're going up, how do they ascend? Through a song. Then they go back up again to the higher Gan Eden. It is known that every journey and every elevation, Shir dafka, is only through song. Which is related to the Mishnah, Masechta Shabbos, where the Mishnah says, it's talking about the prohibition of carrying on Shabbos, and referring to the laws pertaining to one's animals that we're not allowed to have them do malacha. We're not allowed to have an animal also do work on Shabbos. But it says that an animal is allowed to go out with a ring that they would have around their neck. Shir is a ring. Called Balei Shir, all animals that wear a ring, Yoitzin, can go out into the public domain, Bashir, wearing this thing. It's not called carrying. It's considered part of their clothing, I think. That's why they're allowed to go. That's the simple meaning. But the Alter Rebbe heard from his Rebbe, the Magid, Mizrich Magid, there's a deeper mystical meaning to this mission. Kol Baalei Ashir, all beings of song. Yoitzin, go out from whichever level they're at. Yoitzin, they ascend. They go out of their limitations. They go out of their boundaries. They go out of their constricted state to soar up to much higher levels of connection to Hashem. How? Bashir, with a song. So they sing a niggin, and that's how they rise. Kol Baalei Ashir Yoitzin Bashir. V'nimshachin Bashir. And they're drawn, Bashir, into the higher level. Or v'nimshachin can be they're drawn back down into their kalim also through a song. There's a song of Ratzah, and there's a song of Shuv. The song we sing Friday night, and the song we sing Matzah Shabbos, One of them takes us out, one of them places us back in. Yeah. We see by us as well. On Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the high holidays, we're all elevated people. Sukkot, we go from level. How do we do it? We do it through a song. And the more they sing in a song, the more you sing in a shul, the more people are elevated. It's not a little thing. People think, oh, yeah, it's nice, let's sing in shul. No, it's important. That's how people have a spiritual elevation. Or else you stay stuck, the same place you were when you walked into shul. Sing a niggin. Chassidim always sang when they davened. Always sang. Because the song expands, opens a person up, leads you to a higher place. Like it's explained in the great Likutei Amarim. It's interesting, he's referring to a Gadol. Likutei Amarim, because the Alter Rebbe also made Likutei Amarim. That's Tanya. Likutei Amarim Agad is referring to the Sefer of his Rebbe, the Magid. There's also called a Sefer Likutei Amarim from the Mizrich Magid. It's not, he didn't write it, it's a collection of his teachings. That's why maybe he's referring to it as Likutei Amarim Hagadol. In any case, over there he teaches this teach, Kol Baalei Ashir Yoitzin Bashir. Ella, but if that's the case, so if we know it's a given, that the shamas are constantly on the move, and how are they on the move? Through singing songs. So if so, why isn't it stated anywhere that about, the Nevi'im, the prophets, experienced beyond the physical curtain. They saw the higher realms, and they describe what's going on with the angels. How come they never describe the singing of the souls? We don't find it stated openly in a pasuk. And the reason is the reason is because the Nevi'im could never hear it. It's not that they're not singing, it's just that the Nevi'im can't hear it. Why? Because when you're singing a tune in your mind, I can't hear it. If I tell you to think a song right now, and you start singing in your head, you're singing the Alter Rebbe's Niggin. No. I'm actually singing the Rostover Niggin. That's the Niggin Achana. Now that I did the Achana, we can do the Alter Rebbe's Niggin. You can hear it. I'm singing it. I have the Niggin and all the tenuas of the Niggin. I have it in my thought. Why? Thought is very, very refined, and ordinary people can't know thoughts. Speech is thicker because it's coming from the body. Thought is in the soul primarily, in the brain, but in the soul. But speech has more of a physical element. It has you're causing sound by emanating by breath, through breath, and breath has a substance, physical substance. That kind of sound you can hear. So he says the malachim, they're not physical, but they're metaphysical, which means they have some kind of physical dimension to them. I'm not trying to say physical. They have a body. Their bodies are made out of very refined matter. matter in its most sublime state. So there is some kind of a keli to the malachim, and there's some kind of a body. And therefore, because there is a substance, when they sing, me and you can't hear it. But a Navi, who is very, very fine-tuned and is very, very sensitive, because he's a high neshama, and he also trains himself through meditation and so on and so forth, to be able to sense and feel and hear things that ordinary humans can't hear. So he can tap into and hear the song of the malachim. The neshamas, he's going to explain, don't have any bodies. They're pure spirit without any matter at all. Unless they come down here in a body, but that's a different story. But the neshamas have an existence as spirit without matter for thousands of years, as they are in heaven. Or as we say, it's not even in the realm of time. Soon see. Neshamas have an existence without bodies. Malachim, from the very moment they existed, are always with a body. There's no such a thing as a spirit of a malach without a body. They're created body and soul together. And therefore, a malach inherently has a body. And therefore, when he sings, it has physical vibrations. Very, very, very subtle, benign physical vibrations. But it is a physical vibration. And that's why those that are sensitive, like Nevi'im, the prophets, were able to hear these very subtle sounds. And they heard it as booming sounds, but it's still... The neshamas are singing a spectacular song. As beautiful as the malachim can sing, the neshamas can sing so much greater. But their song can't be picked up by the Nevi'im because it's too elegant and too refined for a Navi who is, after everything is said and done, his soul is in a body, so he's operating through a physical body and a physical mind. He can't pick up on their song. Just like I said earlier, if you're singing a song with breath, with sound, I can hear it. But if you're singing in thought, I can't hear it. So, the song of the angels is heard in the ears of the Navi, of the prophet. Like it says, Ve'eshma, and I heard acharai behind me. Koil raj godoil, a great sound, and he heard the sound of the malachim saying Kaddish, Kaddish. It's interesting that Rav Moshe, the son of the Alter Rebbe, in his version of the mimer, says the reason why it says Ve'eshma acharai, I heard behind me, is because since Seif Kol Seif, the Navi is a neshama. Yes, he's a neshama in a body, but he's still a neshama. So he belongs to the innermost, pnimius olamos, the inner element of the world, as we're soon going to see, in contrast to the malachim, who are more in the external part of the world, more in the time and space element of the world. Neshamis are more rooted in the inner dimension, in the soul of creation, not in the external element of creation. That's why when the Navi heard the malachim, he's hearing him, Eshma acharai, behind me, because the Navi is really more pneumiastic. Yet, since he's in a body, he can't hear the neshama singing, but he was able to hear the malachim, but when he's hearing the malachim, it's acharai behind him. B'pchinas koil mamish, but he can literally hear it in a koil, in a sound. Like it says, ve'eshma, and they hear. As koil kanfeim, another example, not only do they hear the voice of their sound, of their vocal cords, as they're singing, but also the sounds of their wings, as they're flapping their wings. Kekoil mayim rabim, like the sounds of mayim rabim, the great waters, the sound of crashing waves. So imagine to hear the sounds of the flapping of the wings of the angels. It's the sound of the thundering of the ocean. And he hears them, mashmim, and they make be heard, beyira, in fear, yachat, together, bekoil, in a sound. As it also says, vo'ifanim, berash godol, and the ofanim, which are the rolling malachim. They make a big ruckus, make a big sound. Gufim, it's because they have bodies. As it says, it says Hashem makes his angels ruchos. He makes them out of wind. Ruach is wind. Meshars of his attendees, his attendants, not attendees, his attendants, eish loit, flames of fire. The loy koyal anasham shalahem. I'm saying interesting. It's not referring on the souls of the angels. That the souls of the angels have fire and ruach and wind. Why? Shanashamas and bali seichel v'hasagais. Because the neshamas, when he says neshamas of here, he doesn't mean souls. He means the spirit of the angels. The neshamas of the angels, everything is ur and keli, light and vessels. The lights, the energies, not the container, doesn't have any substance of fire and wind. All it is an intelligence. It's what characterizes. It's a being that has it's an intelligence. It's a pure intelligence without a body. That's what it is. It has seichel. That's what it makes up its being. It's hasaga. And in that you can't say fire and wind. Just like the soul of man, which conceives and grasps ideas. That can't be called ruach. Ve'esh loet, and flames of fire. It's referring to their bodies, the bodies of the malachim. Ramban, and like the Ramban Nachmanides says, Shamalachim yesh lehem guf. I think he says it in not in the Sefer Pirush on the Torah, but in Shar HaGamul. It's a certain Sefer the Ramban wrote, where he talks about reward and punishment and all that. Shamalachim yesh lehem guf. That the malachim have a body, miyasoy the ruach, from the element of wind. Hapashut, but it's not the wind that we have, because our wind that we have, when you go outside and you feel the wind blowing, Rambam already explains to us that all physicality, all physical matter is already a mix of all four elements. So our wind that we have has fire and water in it, and also earth, subtle. So it's all there in what we have. But Malachim have pure ruach without other things. And also from the element of fire that is pashat, pure fire. But also, it means more than that, I think. Pashat doesn't only mean it's not mixed with anything else. It also means it's not fire as fire manifests, but it's the essence of fire. It's the more abstract power of fire and the abstract power of wind that's made up malachim. So we're dealing with, when I say metaphysical, I mean super metaphysical. It's very, very, very edel, but still creates vibrations, still occupies space. It's still an entity that could be seen as a being that exists within the 6 dimensions of space. And because it has space, when it's excited, it gives off vibrations and sounds that is detectable to a very, very sensitive ear. And that's why he also says the angels, they actually occupy space. Sheyesh malach gadol, for example, the Masechtas Chagiga discusses the angels. It says over there, there's a malach tav kuf shana, who the distance to pass through his body, from one end of his body to the other end of his body, is a distance of 500 years of travel, whatever that means. Spaceship travel, light years travel. I don't know what the 500 years are. What speed are we moving in this 500 years? But this is what Chazal is a measurement that Chazal use. V'yesh malach b'shlisha olam. There's a malach that's a third of the world. So what is that? Obviously, we're not talking about their soul, the spirit of the malach, because the spirit of the malach is not measurable in terms of space. 500 years of journeying that. It has to be their body. Gadol kol kach is so great. Because it's within space. It's within the realm of space. And it's for that reason, Shir, their song, mislabeshes b'pchenas koil, enclothes itself in some kind of a sound, Nishmas la'oznei hanavi, till it's able to be heard in the ears of the prophet. Ma she'enken shiras haneshamos, which isn't the case of the song of the souls. Einon nishmas, they're not nishmois, they're not being heard. Because they're not enclosed in a body at all. So hold it. And what's with the malachim when they're not enclosed? The answer is there's no such a thing as an unenclosed malach. The malachim are immediately created energy and vessel, soul and body. Not so humans. Our neshamas exist as independent beings without any body. It's only whenever God decrees, the impossible happens. That this very refined, abstract being who is totally beyond time and space enters into and connects and encloses itself and becomes one with a physical body. And that's one of the most impossibilities that God does, and we say Asher Yatzar for that. And we say, Mafli Las, is God does wonder to connect something so spiritual, so beyond, and to connect it to a physical matter, and to merge them. Mafli Las, it's a wonder. But let's go back again. And because neshamas don't have a body, so their song does not enclose itself in sound. It's a niggin, it's in the same level. It doesn't mean it is seichel, because then it's not song, it's seichel. It's a form of an excitement, of a yearning, but it's the same idea. Like we understand that when you have an idea, a concept, no one can hear it. It's spiritual. When you understand something, unless you speak it, but if you don't speak it, just the concept itself, it's a spiritual. It's an idea. It's not. And an idea, you can't say, an idea takes up space. Give it to me, put it here. No, it's not within the context of space and time and a concept. And so the song of the malachim are also, of the neshamas are also on that level. That's why the Nevi'im didn't speak about it, because they couldn't give us an account of it, because they didn't hear it. Now we find similar to that. Le'inyan Riyah. Same as also, can you see neshamas? Well, we don't find that in scripture that anybody sees neshamas. We see seeing angels, and a few weeks from now, Parshas Vayera, Avram Avinu gets a visit from 3 malachim. We spoke earlier, Shimshon Agibar and his wife, Shimshon Gibar's father Manoach and his wife, they saw an angel. Hagar saw malachim. Yeshua had encounters with malachim. Angels are seen le'enei basar. Yosef met Malach Gabriel when he was looking for his brothers. So they're seen le'enei basar, to physical eyes. Who? Not everybody. Zakei hara'os, people that have edela eyes, refined eyes. Hela goigen, those who have, By Bilam it says Hashem opened his eyes, particularly even though he was not refined eyes. But God opened his eyes to see the Malach. Okay, fine. But generally, right, tzaddikim, who are very refined, they watch their eyes and they only use it the way they're supposed to, they can see things that others can't see. See Malach. It says by Avram, he saw 3 people. And the reason why they are visible, so obviously, when the Malach appeared to Avram, the Malachim had to do something to appear. It wasn't just like Avram suddenly opened his eyes and saw Malachim. The Malachim came to visit, which means they descended. Descending into our realms means that they became more tangible. The Malachim became more physical. But even when they became physical, they're, as he says over here, it's me and you wouldn't see them. Same Malachim that Avram Avinu saw, me and you wouldn't see, because they remained a little bit above our range of vision. But the fact that Avram could see them, and usually he didn't see Malachim every day, is because they did descend at that time to be seen. But the reason they are descendable and they can be seen is because lechatchila they have a body. They just have to thicken up their body a little bit or dress it up. It's like put on a more of a suit that can be seen. But the fact that they can put on a suit is because they themselves are spatial creatures, which means they have some kind of a physical substance, so they can enclose themselves in something that can make them more tangible and more visible, therefore. Because they have bodies. And they're able to become enclosed till they can be revealed, and they should be seen. The neshamas cannot make themselves visible unless a neshama comes down in a body. That's a different story. That God does a wonder that He takes the soul and He puts it in a body. It's a different story. But as a neshama being a neshama, to being able to be seen by a person, not possible. I can ask the kasha, how come the Rabbeim always write? There's many writings. The person, the Friedrich Rebbe, writes how he saw his father. Father came to him, and then he says at certain points, they say when the Baal Shem Tov came to visit, the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid came to visit the Alter Rebbe in jail. It says they came to him in bodies because someone said he saw that cell, and the Rebbe asked, was there place for 3 people in the cell? Alter Rebbe describes how when he was in the cell, he got a visit from the Mizritcha Maggid and the Baal Shem Tov, and he asked them why this is happening to him. Why does he have to suffer like this? What's going on? And they told him, because you're spreading Chassidus in a way that you're disseminating the deepest secrets, and there's a big kitrig on you. So he said, does that mean I should stop? He says, no stopping. Not only should you do it, you should do it even more than you did it before. But you have to. It's a process. So there you have to understand. It says they actually. So the Rebbe says, I think that speaks about that they came in their physical bodies. So how does that happen with the Rabbeim that they can see even neshamas? Maybe neshamas that were already in a body and their big tzaddikim can fetch their body whenever they need it. Similar to what we discussed the Shavuos by night. You know what? We discussed the Shavuos by night, that Eliyahu Hanavi is able to put on his body whenever he needs it. He leaves his body in Olam HaYetzirah, and then he goes, we spoke about the Shavuos by night. Remember, we had this whole discussion. So maybe, I'm not exactly sure. But put it this way, neshamas that don't have any bodies, pure neshamas cannot be seen to people. Or the other option is that the Rabbeim on a whole different level. Are you going to say, he says about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that they were able to see the Malachim, but they couldn't see neshamas? Akash. So I'll tell you a story in Vahamevin Yavin. I'll tell you a story, and those who understand the story and why I'm saying it is good. If not, it's also good. Certain things I shouldn't explain. Because they have some body, but they couldn't see neshamas. But I'm saying that the Rabbeim were able to see neshamas. Oh, because they came into a body. Yeah, but he's saying neshamas can't come into a body unless he's saying that unless they're being born. That's what I'm saying. So how did that happen? That's the question. How did it happen? I saw a story that there was a person came to the Tzemach Tzedek. Someone who wasn't a chassid, and he was the big Talmud Chacham, and he wrote, after the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch was printed, he read it, and he decided to write Habais on the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch. I don't know if it was Habais to explain, or Hasagas Haravid, like kind of a type of a thing, which he was going to argue on. He came to the Tzemach Tzedek for a haskama. So the Tzemach Tzedek told him like this, the Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, he says, the Rif, beim Rif is nicht gewen kan ish de mitzay. By the Rif, there's no such a thing as the Rif skipped something. The Rif knew everything. If the Rif leaves out a Gemara, it's because he didn't hold of it. That's what the Tzemach Tzedek said. Meaning he didn't hold it, that's halacha, whatever. That's holding Gemara, but he it wasn't Geiris it. He didn't. By the Rambam, he says there was ishtemitzeh, meaning the Rambam has three times that he missed something. Tzemach Tzedek said. But there isn't one word in the Rambam that is not mechuvan, perfect. The Rambam, every word that he wrote, he was never tired when he wrote. Every word is perfectly set. That's what he says about the Rambam, about the Rif. And then he said like this, but der Zayda is God anders. But the Zayda, my grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, and they say when he wrote the story, says gar, he emphasized the word gar very long. But the Zayda is on a complete different story. And then he said to the guy, get out of here. And he kicked him out. Don't try to write Hagos on the Alter Rebbe. That's what he basically told him. Al Kopanim, so how did Abayim can see Neshamas? What do you think when the Rebbe saw you, he saw your body, he saw your Neshama. So anyways, he saw the Neshama. But this idea that Neshamas, are visible and Malachim, so this fascinating idea that Neshamas are visible. Neshamas are not visible. And Malachim have some form of a body. And that's why when Malachim sing Shira, we can hear them. Yes. When Malachim sing Shira, we can hear them. Not we, but Nevi'im can hear them. And when Neshamas sing Shira, they can't be heard. And that's why we say B'Shmayna Esrei, U'kedoshim b'chol yoyim ya'alalu chasela. Holy ones every day will always praise you. U'kedoshim, and holy ones. B'chol yoyim, every day ya'alalu chasela. Who are the holy ones? So when do we say U'kedoshim b'chol yoyim ya'alalu chasela? When do we say that? We say that, no. We say right after, we say it in Ata Kadosh. In Shemona Esrei, the third bracha, Ata Kadosh. You're holy, your name is holy. Kedoshim, and the holy ones. Who are the holy ones that are praising God Selah all the time? Who is this? No, it's not the Malachim. The Malachim we speak about when we do Chazaras Hashatz and we do Kedusha. Nakdishach and Aritzach. So it's Sarfei Kodesh. What do the Malachim say? Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Baruch, Yimloich. Malachim are saying. After we finish with the Malachim, what do we say next? Ata Kadosh Ukedoshim b'chol yom. Who are the Kedoshim we're talking about now? That's not us. That's the Neshamas in heaven. They're called Kedoshim. Kadosh means holy, but what's the real meaning of holy means? Removed. Removed from what? Removed from any definition. So Neshamas don't really have a definition because they don't have any vessel. Neshamas don't have a body. They're pure soul. Malachim have a body. Neshamas have, again, remember, not to get confused, Neshamas have a body during the time that God sends a Neshama down here. But when the Neshama exists for all of its existence, it's without a body. And what do we say? We're saying about a chiddush, we're saying a novelty. The Neshamas are singing Selah forever. Because the Malachim have a set time for when they're singing. Malachim are only singing at, it says there are some Malachim that sing by day, some Malachim sing by night. Why do Malachim have set time for songs? Because they exist within time and space. And therefore, once you exist within time, there is a time for everything. There's a time to sing, there's a time to be quiet. Because they exist within time. Neshamis, why? Why do Malachim exist within time? Because Malachim, angels, exist within space as well, as we discussed earlier. Malachim have some kind of a body, very, 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 very sublime, very elegant, very refined, that we can't see it. It's so edel. But it does exist within time. And he says time and space go together. If there is space, there is time. Yes? Where? Oh, yes. Yeah. When he's with a body, he's in time, and when he drops his body, he's in a shama. Yeah. Yeah. What does that mean? Say the kedusha shalom alachim. First, we say the seder of kedusha of the malachim. How the malachim say kadosh u'baruch v'yimloich. The malachim say kadosh u'baruch. It's interesting that the Alter Rebbe in this version of the mimer says kadosh baruch and yimloich. That the malachim say all three. Tzemach Tzedek brings in another mimer that the malachim don't say yimloich. They only say kadosh, kadosh, and baruch kavod. They don't say yimloich. Why? Because he explains kadosh is an olam abriya, baruch is an olam yetzira, and yimloich is an olam asiya. And since this malachim don't really, their main malachim is not an asiya, so they don't say yimloch. But then he brings, it's interesting. Then he brings the Tzemach Tzedek. But in this mimer, he quotes this mimer. And he says that in this mimer from the Alter Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe says that the Malachim do say, mashma, that they do say Kadosh Baruch and Yimloch. You realize when we're saying in Kedusha, we don't say the Malachim are saying Yimloch. We don't say the Malachim say it. By Kadosh Baruch we say Liyum Masam Meshapchim V'Yoimrim. The Malachim say Baruch. We don't. But by Yimloch we just say Yimloch. We don't say. The Alter Rebbe says the Malachim are saying Kadosh Baruch V'Yimloch. It's interesting, I forgot to mention. Tzemach Tzedek says there that in this mimer, and how does he refer to this mimer? This mimer was said by a Chanukas Habais. Which Chanukas Habais? When the Alter Rebbe inaugurated his shul in Liadi. Because initially the Alter Rebbe lived in Liozhne. Then after he was arrested, he was arrested twice. His first arrest, he came back to Liozhne after they freed him. 2 years later or so, he was arrested again. And a much lighter type of an arrest. It wasn't such a harsh arrest, but it was, in some ways, it was considered a greater danger. And then when he was released the second time, they forced him to stay in Petersburg. They didn't let him leave. He had to stay in Petersburg. And after a couple of months, however, he gained permission to leave. There was a certain count that was lord or whatever, who was so impressed by him, a nobleman, that he secured his release from Petersburg. But he asked the Alter Rebbe to do him a favor to come live in his province. And he said, I'm going to build for you whatever you want. So he built him a whole village there. He built him for the Chassidim, homes and stuff, and a big shul and everything. That was in Liadi. And that was for about 12 years of the Alter Rebbe's life, 10 to 12 years of his life. So in the Chanukas Habais in Liadi, the Alter Rebbe said this mime, which is Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habais. In any case. And then they say again, after we say what the Malachim say, we say that the Holy Ones praise you. Who is that? That's referring al Neshamis. It's referring to the Neshamis. We're holding in the end of Perek Aleph. Not on your right page. No, turn over the page. In the end of Perek Aleph, a couple of lines before the end. For Oimrim Keseder Mamata Lamayla. And the way we say it is we first speak about, we go from lower to higher. First the song of the Malachim, and then the song of the angels, and then the song of the... First the song of the Malachim, the sanctification of the Malachim. They exist in time and space, or in space and in time. How do we know they also exist in time? Since he has proven earlier that they have space, as the Gemara says, speaks of their physical size, Mahalach Tovkuf Shana, the distance of 500 years, Ushlisha Olam, or a third of the world, Harem gam kein b'bchinas zman. So they also exist within the time frame. Sha'hamakom v'azman shneim hem nivroim, because time and space are inseparable. Both of them are created b'bchinas echad, in one level, in one. Wherever there is space, there is time. Wherever there is time, there is space. The two of them go together. And that's why they have a set time that they say Shira. Which isn't the case of the souls. The shamas don't have time and space. And that's why it says, every day. Every day can mean it's still within a time. It's every day they sing. When we say, tamid, always, Yahalalucha, they praise you, which is always, and especially the next word, Sela. Sela means never stopping. V'gam Sela, believe hafsik, without an interruption. And it's because the shamas don't exist in space, and they don't exist in time. Why not? Because the shamas don't have bodies. They're pure spirit without any matter. And for that reason, as he explains now, even though they're always singing, no one ever heard their song, because you can only hear a song if it has vibrations. So the malachim, more than I forgot to mention, the song of the malachim was even heard by Gentiles. The army of Sancherev, they heard the Hashem made them open their ears. They heard the song of the malachim, and they died. How powerful it was! But you can hear it because it has a sound. So that's why the malachim are. So what is higher? Neshamas are really superior to the malachim. If that's the case, why are the malachim arguing? How is the malachim even in the first place arguing against Hashem? Who is man? When the neshamas are far superior to them. You understand the distance between someone that has a body, which means they're fixed and they have a limited container, and someone that has no container? The type of existence. So neshamas are infinitely above them. So how dare they disparage the neshamas? How dare they dismiss the neshamas? The answer is they're not dismissing the neshamas. They're dismissing the human being down here. That's what they couldn't get. Neshamas, they're in awe of the neshamas. But in bodies, that's a whole different story. Because once a neshama is cast into a body, it becomes very constrained and very limited, and then becomes really, really, really prone to do a lot of stupid things. And that's their problem. So why in the world are you doing that? But the malachim that said ma'enish, what is man already? Even though sheyadu, they knew shamaylos madregas neshamas. Even though they knew the quality of the neshamas, is far superior to them. As we said earlier, it's true. On neshama, the way it is, and the way it was, and the way it whatever, it's taka doesn't have a slapshus. It doesn't have a body. It doesn't have a body at all. So that's okay. That they agree. But on a neshama coming down into a body in this world, amru, on that they complained. And they said, Ma enosh, what is this human? Ki mitzad haguf, once a person has a body, muchena adam lachtoi, a person is prone or prepared in many ways, God forbid, to sin. The al kain amru, and that's why they said, shetinasam lahem Torah. When Hashem is giving the Torah, He wants it to be kept. He doesn't want it not to be kept. We will keep it. We will be the keepers of the Torah. We will do them, and we will make sure not to do what aggravates you. Give it to a human, and you'll see everything you don't like. He'll be interested in doing. That's like they saw the humans as being very unfit for this job. It's like doing an interview and taking the least likely person to do the job well. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why are you doing that? That's why they argue the Torah should give it to them. Oh, now, you'll say. Obviously, Hashem wants the Torah to be performed in time and space. So obviously, the fact that God wants to give it down is because Hashem wants the Torah to be observed within time and space. So therefore, he wants to put it to the human. But then the Malachim said, well, we qualify too, because we also exist within time and space. Because they also have bodies. If it's a body that you want, so we also have bodies. But we have a body that is controllable. They have bodies that is uncontrollable. Or not uncontrollable, but is... They have a guf, and they have a nefesh. Va'guf ruchni, and their body is spiritual, at least compared to our bodies. V'tshuvas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the answer of the Eibishter is, what does God answer? No. That the Malachims don't qualify for the Torah for two reasons. Their spirit is not spiritual enough, and their body is not coarse enough. So they don't make it on neither test. In terms of refinement and elevation and spiritual capacity, they completely fail. They don't have anywhere close to the spiritual capacity to a soul that a neshama has. On the other hand, their bodies, which is their groundedness in time and space, is way too subtle and way too minimal compared to the human being whose body is deeply entrenched in time and space and very constricted. And in order for the Torah to be actualized, we need these two powers. We need an unlimited spirit, and we need a very coarse body. And this unlimited, most refined and elevated spirit should work with the coarsest of bodies and observe the Torah like that, and only then is it fulfilling for what the Eibishter designed and what God wants from the Torah. That's the basic idea that he's going to explain. The milah of having a human body, but that's because we also have a human soul, and our human soul can handle a human body. And not only can it handle a human body, it can bring the body to a submission to God. And we know one thing, that if the angels ever try to put on one of our bodies, when angels try to wear a human body, they failed miserably. They became the most corrupted of the corrupt of the corrupt. These were the Nephilim. The Nephilim were the few malachim that God said, you're chapening zich with man, you're teasing the human, let me see how you will do. And Hashem sent them into human bodies. And they became the most corrupt, and they corrupted everybody else. So they can't handle a human body. The reason they can't handle a human body is because they're not spiritual enough. Only those that are very, very high are capable of going very, very low. It's like, you come to horseback riding. So they ask you right away, as a group coming, he says, who has ridden before? Who's got a little... So they have that. They know who to pair up with which horse. When you have a gesunte fair, the guy who's like this, you need someone who knows a little bit. Someone who's a new rider. They think, you can't put him on a horse like that. So you have to find them, a very quiet little pony, that's going to behave really nice. So malachim, they can only handle a little bit of a body. The neshamis are able, because their connection to Hashem is so strong, they can deal with a very coarse body and rein it in as well into the service of Hashem. As he's going to explain. The Tshuvas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the answer of the Eibishter is, we need to dafka have a neshama, which a neshama comes from the inner dimension of the worlds. Which means within the worlds itself, the neshamas come from the most deepest, sublime levels. Shehi mitzad atzma mufshetes machomer gufni legamra, which the neshama on its own is removed from a substance and a coarseness of the body completely. As we said before, neshamas don't have any whatsoever chomer, no physical matter at all. V'sheteired dafka, and that neshama should peer up and go down beguv gashmi into a physical body, mamish, not like the malachim's bodies. It should go down into real chunky bodies. And only through this will Hashem have a home in the lowest world. Because the malachim can create for God a home, but it would be in a higher realm, not in the lowest world, because they don't have such low bodies. And when that will happen, it won't even be a home, because he's not interested in a home there. He wants a home in the lowest. As I told you, this mimer has a connection to Parshas Bereshis. He says, look at the mimer in Torah Oyer, Vayetzer Hashem Elokim Es Ha'adam, which is one of the mimerim in Parshas Bereshis, where he explains the dichotomy of the human being. How the human being is both the highest of the high and the lowest of the low. And you find this also by the Beis HaMikdash. Beis HaMikdash naise gam keim midvarim gashmiyim. You take a look at the Beis HaMikdash, the actual home for Hashem. Where did we create a home? In the Beis HaMikdash. What was the Beis HaMikdash made out of? Dafka, physical things. Not from ruchnias. Beis HaMikdash was created from gashmias. And dafka, in that lowest of substances, there was a revelation from what is beyond the all worlds. From that which is beyond the whole evolving order of spiritual lights. Meaning to say, what is not revealed in the higher realms. In other words, the higher realms is revealed hishtalshalus lights, contracted revelations of God, but not what is beyond it all. And dafka down here is revealed the highest of the high. Look at the second Mizmor Shir, he tells you, which is the next mimer. As I told you, there's two Mizmor Shirs. Why is there two Mizmor Shirs? Because Mizmor Shir, we're going to see soon, means two times song. Mizmor means song, Shir means song. So there's two Mizmor Shirs for the two songs. That's my pirush. That doesn't necessarily... So now when the Beis HaMikdash was built, Oz Nemar, then it says, so when the Beis HaMikdash was built, which is what proved, what did it prove? What did the Beis HaMikdash prove? The maila of the quality of the neshamas, that only they can make a home for God. Because to make a home for Hashem, you need to have very coarse material and very, very, very high spiritual capacity. It's only in this unique combination. We'll soon see he's now going to explain what is the maila, what is the quality of the spiritual service that happened in the Beis HaMikdash that's coming mitzad the neshama. In other words, that only the neshama is capable of, malachim are not capable of. He's going to show us which is what creates and makes the Beis HaMikdash. But all of that happens where? In a physical setting. So he's going to explain that the Beis HaMikdash is a very unique combination. We come there with our bodies. We don't send our neshamas there. We drag along our bodies. Actually, when we come, we spoke on Shabbos morning Shir. No one was here by the Shabbos morning Shir. But by the Shabbos morning Shir this past week, we were talking that it's called Oile Regel. Your feet are rising. Why are you talking about the feet? Your head is coming. No, because the main avodah was to bring your feet, to bring your animal soul, to bring your lowest parts of your being to the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Because the Beis HaMikdash was also physical, was made up from the lowest materials. But at the same time, Oile, you have an aliyah, the highest elevation. It's the highest kind of a service, higher than the malachim. Expressed where? In a physical body. So what is that unique combination? What takes place in the Beis HaMikdash? And because of that deep avoid, it causes hashras hashchina. It's that unique, impossible combination of the lowest materials being facilitating the highest devotion and connection and commitment and integration, if we can say, of beings with Hashem. The highest assimilation. And where does it take place? In the Beis HaMikdash. And that's where the Shekhinah dwells. And when that happened, when we could accomplish that, then the Malachim went, wow, I'm sorry. Unbelievable. We couldn't do that. They finally admitted, and that's why David HaMelech says, my enemies didn't win. The enemies of mankind, the Malachim. Of course, we're holding, it says, it says, make for me a Beis HaMikdash, and I will dwell amongst them. So the Shaila over here is an interesting thing. Where does the Eibishter dwell? Where does Hashem dwell? Does Hashem dwell in the Beis HaMikdash? Pashtus, that's Hashem's home, the Beis HaMikdash. But then why does it say, make me a Beis HaMikdash and I will dwell in it? It doesn't say that. It says, make me a Beis HaMikdash and I will dwell in them. The answer is, where does Hashem dwell? Hashem dwells in every single one of us. Hashem dwells in our hearts, in our minds, in our hearts, in our souls, inside. But when will the Eibishter dwell in each and every one of us? When does he dwell inside of us? When does he pervade our consciousness? We're soon going to see. Literally, the Eibishter pervades the consciousness of a Yid when the Beis HaMikdash was standing in an unbelievable way, especially by the time of Aliyah L'Regel. We're suddenly filled, our entire awareness is filled with the powerful revelation of God's presence. V'shachanti, he's literally dwelling there. We lose all sense of self and we only feel him. We'll soon see how that happened. But when did that happen? Only when we had a physical structure. Until we didn't build that physical structure of bricks and mortar and stones, we didn't have that Wi-Fi, it didn't beam into us. It's strange. You're talking about Eibishter, you're talking about Neshamas. What does it have to do with a physical structure? You need a physical tower. That's the way it is. Again, it doesn't say I will dwell in it. In them. The Shekhinah dwelled amongst the Yidden, Atzman, in them. But nevertheless, you had to build a structure of wood and stones. Through this physical building, the Shekhinah will dwell amongst the Jewish people. And now, how about now that there's no Beis HaMikdash? When there's no Beis HaMikdash, nespashta hakedusha b'chol Beis HaKnesses u'Beis HaMidrash. The kedusha expands into every shul, and into every yeshiva, into every study hall, every davening place, every place that's set for prayer. That serves as a Wi-Fi. In other words, you can daven at home, you can do your home, but there's another thing about coming to a shul, because there's something that's there. God dwells there, in the shul, or in the yeshiva, or in the study hall. And when you go there and pray there, as we're soon going to see, your soul is illuminated with some greater awareness of Hashem than if you try to do it yourself. As it says, I will be for them for a small Beis HaMikdash. If you remember, a couple of months ago, Parshas Truma of last year, I spoke about this whole idea of Hashem being in all the shuls, and then there's one central shul that speaks about Beis Rabbeinu Shebebavel, where the main Shekhinah dwells. Anyways. To understand this, tzarich lahav, and to understand what's this idea. Why do you need a physical place, and then the Eibishter reveals himself into the neshama? So to understand this, let's first understand what's the idea that the Eibishter reveals himself in your neshama. What does that mean? So lahaven zeh tzarich lahaven inyan hashras hashchina. What does bichlal mean that God dwells somewhere? Mahi, what does it mean? The dwelling of the Shechina. V'hinei anu oimrim, we say, v'ein anu yochaylim lalois v'leirois. In Musaf, we kept on saying it the whole month of Tishrei. On Rosh Hashanah, then on Yom Kippur, and then on Sukkot. Every day that we daven the Musaf, we're going to say it next week again, Rosh Chodesh. I'm not sure we're saying exactly those words. No, Rosh Chodesh we say it a little differently. But we say, Ve'ein anu yochaylim lalois v'leiro. We're not able to go up and to see God. We can't see the Beis HaMikdash, we can't see Hashem. We can't bow down before you. So he's asking a simple question. We can't go up, that we understand. The hand that was sent and destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, we can't go there today. Lirois, if we can't go, we can't see it. We can't see it, we can't go. But why can't we bow? Well, we can't bow there. Yeah, but who says you have to bow there? Bow anywhere. What's bowing? Bowing is your submission to God. God is everywhere. Let's say, to see, the reason of going was to see. That was a place where God was visible. Oh, God made himself be seen there. Therefore, if that's the place where God can be seen, we can't go up and see. That we can't. But bow in your own house. Bow. Wherever you are, Hashem is everywhere. It's why we're saying we can't bow. Why aren't we able to? To go up and to see. That we can't. Because there is a hand that has been destroyed. But the bowing. We can bow before the Eibishter everywhere. As we say, we kneel, and we bow down. So why do we dafka need a Beis HaMikdash for this? And we actually say we bow down. So it must be that it means something deeper. There's two types of bowing. Of course, bowing on the most simplest of levels we can do anywhere. You can bow. Bow down to Hashem wherever you are. Look at these restrictions. You're not supposed to actually get down on the floor and bow. We only do it in Yom Kippur. And even then, we don't go all the way down flat. We go like kneeling. But that kind of bow, and when we say that's called an external bowing. And even if you're not just doing an external movement of getting down on the floor, of kneeling and bowing, but you're actually submitting yourself, because that's what the meaning of bowing means. Bowing means a submission. Even if you're submitting, it's still considered an external bowing. Because it's an external submission. Why is it an external submission? Because you're only submitting your behavior. You're not submitting your very identity, your very being. You're surrendering to God and saying, when you're really doing your bowing down, means you're saying, God, you're the boss. Okay, it's going to be your way. Last year, I know I sometimes violated your will, but this year, it's a form of tshuva, Yom Kippur, when we bow. It's a form of, I just confessed. We're not doing that anymore. What am I doing? I'm bowing to your will. I'm going to listen to you. Submission. A servant bows down to the king means you're the boss. But that doesn't mean that I don't have conflict. Doesn't mean that inwardly I might be really, really, really upset. A servant can be bowing down and cursing at the time and thinking to himself, God, I don't want to do this, but I have no choice. You're the boss. Or it says in the other mimer, the servant can go down, and while he's serving, he can be thinking about his indulgences of who knows what. He's bowing. Or he says, in the other mimer, he says, or a minute after he gets up, and he's submitting now, he can forget his submission and do something quietly the king doesn't see, illegal, something against the rules, even if he did mean it seriously while he was bowing. Because the bowing is only reflecting an external kind of a submission. Then there's another kind of a bowing. when one senses the power and the majesty and the greatness of the king in such an amazing way that you completely dissolve in his presence to the point that you can't imagine, you lose all awareness of self in the presence of such greatness. You have no desire of self. All your desires are knocked out. It's hard to imagine that by a human king. People had that with big tzaddikim, that they gave themselves over to serve the tzaddik to the point that there's no desire. Not their wives, not their children, not their lives, not their financial, nothing mattered to them. The only thing was to fulfill the ratzin of the tzaddik, of a rebbe or something like that. Gave themselves over completely. Your will is my will. I have no will. Canceled every sense of desire, of personal want in the face of such greatness. That's the real meaning of bowing. Bowing means I don't exist in your presence. You are, and I'm just a channel for your will. Whatever you want is going to be. That kind of bowing we're not capable of doing only when we're in the Beis HaMikdash. As he's going to explain. There's two types of bowing. What does bowing mean? That one is nullifying and surrendering himself in front of the Eibishter, like a person is mevatel himself in front of a king. And he accepts upon himself to serve him and to listen to his voice. There is a bowing that's external. One is submitting his body not to rebel. But the main desire and pnimius of his soul, but internally is not completely null. He still has a desire of his own. And he has another desire, and another thought, onto his own, meaning an independent desire and want. Zulas inyanachna, besides the bowing, the submission. It's like you can bow in Yom Kippur and be thinking, oh my, soon we're going to go eat. While you're bowing. So you're still thinking about your food, about your want, and so on and so forth. A real deep bowing, what the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, nullify your will before his will. You don't have any other desire. Like a child that has so devoted to his father that he's considered the feet of his father. It's an extension of the father. My entire existence is to be a foot for my father. That my father's will, obviously there has to be a very good parent-child relationship over here. For a child to be, we're wondering who are those kids that we're talking about over here. That that the child is only the leg of the father. The foot is completely nullified to the person. It's not like your limbs or your organs don't have their own desires that you have to and force them to do your will. Whatever you want, that's your foot's desire. Your foot knows its entire existence is to execute your will. That's it. That's what we mean. Bowing of the soul. And such a bowing. This is why they went 3 regalim, and maybe that's why it's called regalim, because they became like feet. When they went to the Beis HaMikdash, they became like the Eibishter's feet. They went up there and they saw. That's why. What's the whole point of going there? Riyah, to see. When they saw godliness, 2 things happened, and here's I'm going to fill in a little bit from the Mittler Rebbe's version. The Mittler Rebbe's mimer in the Siddur, he says that when a Yid came to the Beis HaMikdash to see God, it says, Keshem Shabal Leroy, just like we came to see, Kach Bal Leroy, we came to be seen. So what does it mean to be seen? When we're seeing, Hashem is also looking at us. Now He sees us all the time. But over here it means that when we came to see Him, He would go out to see us. It's like a king who someone comes to see him, a visitor, he steps out of his private chamber to meet. He goes into the audience room to meet this person. So he reveals himself to him. God coming out to meet us meant an individual revelation of Hashem to this person. Now, the concealed of the concealed, God that is concealed, unknown, that we hear about, know about, we don't feel him, see him, was actually made himself visible to that neshama. And when that happened, there was such a powerful projection of truth, of light in that person's neshama that you totally, it knocked your socks off completely. You had zero sense of self, and suddenly you melted, literally melted. Like he says later, like a little flame getting next to a big fire. The flame just joins in the big fire, and it becomes identityless as an individual flame. Your neshama dissolved from being a being, and you were lost only in the greater project of what God wants. And obviously, in how I can facilitate that desire in my own way. But it was all about God. It wasn't about me at all. And that's what I felt. I felt Shabbos, Tefillin, Dira B'Tachtonim, Torah. These desires were felt in my neshama so convincingly, not even as my desire to do them, but rather as God's desire. And that's it. We're going to be like this after Mashiach comes. Listen to last night's class I gave. It's called Var Malchus. It's on YouTube. Any case, when we spoke last night, that it says when Mashiach will come, there won't be mitzvahs anymore. How does it? That seems to be totally contradiction into the nitzchias of Torah. And Torah is going to be forever. Mitzvah. So the Rebbe explains, the Rebbe explains it's not a mitzvah because we're not going to experience ourselves anymore as someone other that needs to be commanded. It's just going to be these are godly ways. And if you are one with God, then you behave in a godly way. This is you, because this is Him. It's not like a commandment that we are commanded to do. We will be this way because of our oneness with Him. So mitzvahs Torah will continue, observance will continue, but not as a mitzvah, not as a commandment. Because we will cease to be separate from Him. So we can't be commanded. When we came to the Beis HaMikdash, we were in that state, dissolved completely into the Eibishter. How long did, and this had such an impact that it lasted for a couple of months. After a couple of months, we needed to go back to get another dosage of truth, of reality. Because after all, we're living in a world, and the physical world is obscuring and blocking. It would wear off. Like when you go to the dentist, the shot that you got wears off after a couple of hours. Here it would last for a couple of months. The bittul. And then we would go back. 3 times a year was enough to keep us in bittul mode all year long. And here's the beauty. Only neshamas are capable of losing themselves completely in God. And yet still be. Malachim can't do that. Malachim will always have a will, a desire of their own. They want very much to serve Him. They want to get close, but there always remains something else. They will never reach a level of batel ratzon, no ratzon, only God's ratzon. Because if they reach a point where there's no ratzon, then they're obliterated. They don't exist anymore. The reason is because malachim are not Him. Malachim are really creations. We're called children. They're not called children. What's a child? A child is the parent in another body. That's a child. It's an extension of the parent. So child is still the continuation of the parent. Malachim are already new creations. They're created to be beings. If they cross the barrier of self-awareness and cease to have self-awareness completely, to the point that they have no desires at all because they've now melted into God's desire, then they don't exist anymore. Then they cross the barrier of their existence, of their creation. They cease to be a creation, they cease to exist. Then it's just melted into Hashem. All there is God. Neshamas are unique. Neshamas, because we're children of the Eibishter, we're able to be a flame that becomes dissolved in the bigger fire, and yet we can step out of it and still be a flame. We can be and not be at the same time. Neshamas, malachim don't have that. But here's the beautiful thing. Neshamas up there can do it all the time. They're in a constant state of this. The beautiful thing is that the Jewish people have the ability to reach such oneness, such integration, such assimilation, and you call it being completely subsumed in Hashem's truth, assimilated into Him, and become so one with Him, and sense His unity, and nullify to His will completely, and do it with their chunky bodies. As long as we have a Beis HaMikdash. So we come to the Beis HaMikdash, we can feel Hashem in the physical, and that means that God is dwelling. Dwelling means He's fully revealed and manifest in the physical world. His will is completely revealed, despite the fact that there is a physical body and a physical container, which is the most naturally separated, disconnected from Him. Yet, because the neshama is so powerful, and especially when there is a Beis HaMikdash and there is that Wi-Fi connection that takes place, especially when we go into the Beis HaMikdash and God beams Himself into our souls, we become completely melted into Him. We don't die. We just accept joyfully that He is and there's none but Him, and His will is our only will, and we can do that while we have physical hearts and minds and bodies and limbs, and live completely devoted to that mission. And that's the whole purpose of creation. So the Malachim don't have it on two ends. They don't, even in their spiritual, they can't have such a bittul. And on the other hand, they definitely can't do it with a physical body, because if they come into a physical body, they go completely off the deep end and become completely separated, and their personal egos and desires would override them completely. That's the beauty of being a Jew. So let's read it over here. And this bowing through seeing Shalish Regalim B'Shana 3 times a year. The Beis HaMikdash, the Beis HaMikdash, Shama Yogilu Shechina over there was the revelation of the Shechina. Pirish Shechina, what does it mean? Shechina Masha Sheichem B'Tachtainim is the Eibishter dwells. What does it mean dwell? B'Pchinas Gilui, that God is revealed even in this physical crusty world. V'Kutsha B'Richu Kadosh Umuvdal. That's the opposite of Shechina. Kadosh Baruch Hu means Kadosh, removed, not expressed, not revealed, separated, up there. But Shechina means dwell. That HaKadosh, dwelling, revealed, Shochen down here. Shayadeza, through this Kol HaNeshamas Mizbatlim, through this revelation of the Eibishter being revealed, it causes the Neshamas to be nullified, Kener Bifnei Avuka, like a candle before a big blazing fire. Piddish, what does that mean? When you have a big fire, Ma'oid, a very big blaze, as a kol ner yechidi, so that each individual lamp, hadoylek besamachla, that is burning next to this big blaze, hoylech oiroi, its light goes v'nichlal ba'oira avuka, and becomes absorbed in the light of this big torch. V'hoyel achadem mamish, and it becomes totally one. V'zehu, and this is the meaning, v'lo yero panai reikam, do not see my face empty-handed. Kederech sheba lirois, just like you're coming to see kach shahayariya v'is galus panimias. So what does he mean exactly? This means don't see my face empty-handed. So I'm not exactly sure what he means, and I tried to get, how does that fit into this Indian? Maybe it means don't see my face and remain empty from me. Meaning don't see my face and remain separate from me. Reikam being remaining reik. When you see my face, dissolve in me, bring me something, dissolve in me. Maybe it brings the carbon. That's the carbon. You're bringing a carbon. You're sacrificing. You're melting. You're sacrificing your desire to Hashem. Again, it's not clear. And I looked at all the other two versions, and I couldn't chapsach exactly what this line is adding to it. Maybe I, But just like you came to see, what does this mean? There was a revelation of Panai, of the Eibishter's face. Uksiv Panai, it says his face. Panai means two things. Hainu B'chinas, it means you're seeing the Pnimius of Elokus. So what is that? not only the Mamala Kalam, and you're seeing Mamala Kalam, you're seeing the indwelling light of God that dwells within the world, which is what? The limited element of the divine that is invested in nature, vested in which that light, which that revelation of God is powerful, but it doesn't completely nullify us. It doesn't completely knock out any bit of our identity, because the whole inyan of the Mamala Kalam is to serve as a source for us, to serve as a source for the creations and for the definitions of the creations. And therefore, even though he is the power of everything, but since he is empowering everything, it still leaves room for us to have somewhat of an importance. The next level, since it says Panai, my Pnimius, means the inner dimension of Elikus, that's the Soiv Kalam. Soiv Kalam is the Hashem that's not adjusting himself. Hashem as he's purely infinite. On that level, all the worlds and definitely us tiny little peepsqueaks have zero significance and meaning. And when that is revealed and we can sense that truth and that light in our neshama, it completely overwhelms us to the point that we don't have any more in any sense of independent self. We're just completely an expression of God. And devoted only to his will. We're cancelled from our existence. You're not only seeing the Shechina, you're seeing even the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means the transcendental, infinite dimensions of God, which are being expressed in the Shechina because of that unity which happens in the Mishkan. The Mishkan is the place where there is the Yichud, the marriage of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Shechina. So it's not only Shechina that's revealed, it's also HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And both of those dimensions, that's called Panai, is being revealed in the Yid's Neshama. When that happens, that's why it says Panai Loshen Rabim, 2 levels of Pnimius, like he explained. V'oid, and another dimension, that it wasn't a uniform revelation. The reason why it says Panai, another reason why it says Panai in the plural, should it says Pani, Panim, Panim Shali, whatever. It says Panai, which is a lashon of my faces, is because it wasn't a uniform revelation. It wasn't one revelation to everybody. Every neshama was revealed differently, the way that neshama can handle it, the way it's unique to that soul. Because as I said earlier from the mimer, it wasn't that God was coming out to see the Jewish people. And you happen to be one little yid. He says in the mimer, like when a servant comes, the king goes out to see him. It's individualized. If you look by the Farbrengen sometimes, I love them. You watch the Rebbe, he's saying L'chaim. So, like you have sometimes Rebbes, they go, L'chaim, Toiv, L'shula. You watch the Rebbe by the Farbrengen. He's looking at every single person. He's locking eyes with everybody. L'chaim, individual. So they go down to the Ma'aseh. The Eibishter comes out to meet every Yid in the Beis Hamikdash individually. According to his own measure. Received this revelation. When they would go up to the Beis Hamikdash. Everybody's chayav. Everybody's obligated to this. The faces of Avaya, Loshen Rabim, Shalakol Echadoya Gilu Lefi Erkoi. Everybody had the revelation according to his stature. Now, the main reason of the seeing wasn't the seeing. It was when you came to the Beis Hamikdash, you came to be, the mitzvah of Riyah is the mitzvah to be seen and see. The main thing was to go there and bow down. Because it's, how did this vision impact you? It's not about the seeing. It's not about the spiritual eye. It's about how is it impacting you in terms of nullifying one's will and causing you to dissolve in God's truth and therefore be a good Jew to exercise Hashem's will in this world through Torah and mitzvahs all year long. The Ikarariya Ishtachvaya is the bowing. When one bow down and left. You have to bring something. I don't know, again, this little parentheses, I didn't chop what he wants. And from these 3 regalim, this left a lasting impact, that one is able to receive this ability to bow down, meaning not just to surrender to God forcefully, but to surrender in a deep pneumistic way. That this should last all year long. Because from every regal and every yontiv, the bittul lasted until the next yontiv. Wow. So let's see what we're missing. We don't realize what we're missing. And when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, and you realize that the bittul impacted them so much, he doesn't say it over here, that ad kedei kach, that they became so nullified that they didn't take up even space. Because that's why when they bowed, they suddenly had there was no squish. Beis Hamikdash was so squished, but when they bowed, there was no squish. And that's because they ceased to be beings. They became so bottled that even physically there was no squish. In Meshachar of Beis Hamikdash, when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hagam she'ein onu yocholim leishtachavois, even though we're not able to bow down, al koponim nispashta kedusha sa'arazu efes katseu, a little bit of this was nispashit b'migdosh ma'at, in the small Beis Hamikdash, Beis HaKnesses or Beis HaMedrash. A little bit of it is captured in every shul. V'hainu, that what? Are we able to have such bittul? No. Yeah, not like in the Beis Hamikdash that it was like, wow. But if you try hard during davening in a shul, you can access this somewhat of God's light can shine in your neshama. And you can have some degree of bittul. At the time of davening, and a person cleaves to his maker, and he desires to nullify himself, even if he doesn't have this powerful automatic bittul, but at least you want it, and in that wanting, somewhat, the Eibishter makes himself visible that the bittul is real. Towards the king of the world. Everybody according to his. It's interesting, the Alter Rebbe said it when he was inaugurating his shul. The Alter Rebbe was being mamshich, that Beis Hamikdash Shechina into his shul. Because we learned in the mimer that where is the main dwelling of the Shechina? In Beis Rabbeinu Shebabel, and the leader of the Jewish people, in the Nasi. Where he is, that's the main Wi-Fi, the main place where the Shechina is. The Alter Rebbe was saying this mimer about that Inyan while he was inaugurating his shul. It's amazing. To some people, it's more external. What do I mean external? That by davening well in a shul, it impacts them, but more externally means that they might have more conflict internally with their Yiddishkeit, but at least externally they can achieve a submission. That I'm going to do what God's will, even if I don't feel inwardly that even if this is not my only desire, but I'm going to overcome my desire to do what Hashem wants. Which means I'm forcing myself. I'm compelling myself to do God's will. Or if one has more edel and neshama, or tries harder, or whatever it is, one can merit, or it's an eis ratzon, to experience a deeper bittul even today, in which it impacts us in our inside as well. And the tefillah of a person Chazal say, is not heard only when you're davening in shul. Even without a minyan. It says that you should daven in a shul. If you can't make it to a minyan, go to a shul and daven anyways. Because the shul has Hashras HaShechina, and there's more Wi-Fi beaming of God's presence in a shul. You can achieve a deeper connection to Hashem in that place than you can do it in your own living room. Because it's the hispashtus of the dwelling of the Shechina that's there. And therefore we also say when there's 10 people together, Shechin Tasharya, 10 Jews together. And then you can say holy things. When there's 10, because when there is 10 Jews together, even if it's not a shul, Shir Knesses Yisroel, the Shechina dwells there. Now if it's 10 in a shul, it's even stronger because the place is also designated for it. The source of our neshamas. Why is it so powerful? Because our neshamas are like a little flame next to our source. So when there's 10 Jews together, the source of neshamas, since it's 10, is revealed then, and we can sense more that bigger flame, as we said, the bigger blaze, in which causes us to have more bittul. That brings you to a bowing, ubittul, and a nullification, kener b'fnei avuka, like a candle in front of a big fire. But only neshamas. Oh, now by the way, here he doesn't say it so much. But in the Moshe's version, remember the other version in Tafkov Samach Vav, from Rav Moshe, he says that. So what's the difference between a Beis Hamikdash and a private shul? He says in the Beis Hamikdash, it's the entire Shechina was revealed there. So because it's the entire Shechina, it was a much powerful. The Wi-Fi signal was extremely powerful, and when you walked in there, it hit you much stronger. But in his shul, he says it's only a chelik of the Shechina. It's only a part of the Shechina. Why? Because it's only a part of the Jewish people coming to that shul. Since it's in the Beis Hamikdash, which was the Grand Central Synagogue, everybody came there. So the entire Shechina was there. But in an individual shul, only part of the Shechina is. A gilui prati of the Shechina. So therefore, it's less impactful. That's why the Rebbe says, that's the reason why the main dwelling of the Shechina during Golus is in one place, like the Gemara says, in Beis Rabbeinu Sheba Bavel. Why? Because since he's the Nasi, so he includes in his neshama all the neshamas of all the Jewish people. He's the neshama kaleles. So therefore, in his shul, there is a much greater presence of the Shechina. That's why Chassidim want to go to the Rebbe's shul 770 for Yom Tov, this and that, because it's powerful. That's where there's a much greater Wi-Fi signal. But only neshamas have this type of a bittul, meaning to become completely joined in God. They become totally unified. Like a flame. When you put a little candle into a big fire, let's analyze it for a second. Does the candle flame exist? Yes and no. No, because there's no candle. It's just a big fire. But yes, because this little flame is there. It's just there included in a much bigger fire, but it's there. It's still burning on the wick. If you're holding the wick in there, it's still in the fire that's outside is there, but it's the space, I don't know how big the flame is around, but it's there in something much bigger and lost in something much bigger. That's the uniqueness of a neshama. We can exist and not be. We can be part of something much bigger than ourselves and yet be. Malachim, it says, when God reveals himself into them and they dissolve, it says it's a punishment. Hashem punished the Malachim. He stuck his pinky into them and they got burnt up. Because the moment they reach this level, they don't exist anymore. They're destroyed from their kalim because their kalim can't handle. Only neshamas can go out of their keli completely. Because why? Because in our source we don't have any keli. So we can, because of that, we can become nullified. Even, but the chiddush is we can do it even when we're in a body, and the body doesn't. Since the neshama and the body are not intrinsically one, it can do it. Over there, and then the malachim and the neshama, they're one with their hagabalah, with their limitation. Because they can separate from the psila, from the wick, v'nichlal, and they can become absorbed. Because the Shechina is Knesset Yisroel, Makor Nishmas Yisroel, she's the source of our neshamas, and we are her children, and only a child can be so identified with their parent. Bonim atem Hashem alekechem, b'rakar davio. See, a servant, if he's so devoted to his master, he has no self. He doesn't feel joy because he has no self. A child can be devoted to the father's interests and be so happy doing it because his identity is his father. His pride is his father's pride. His pleasure is his father's pleasure. To take it even a little more subtle, I just recently read something in the Sefer, a beer in Chassidus, very geschmack. If a servant is devoted to his master 100%, and his master is cold, and he wants a hot tea, and the servant brings his master a hot tea, and the master drinks the tea and he's very satisfied. So there's a few levels of servants. There is a level of a servant where he's just so angry because he wants to go back to his Xbox and play his Nintendo game. And now he's making him crazy, like it says by Big Son and Seresh, that they couldn't stand that Achashverosh was always asking for drinks while he was with Esther. So that's why they wanted to kill him, because he wanted the constant bar service. He wanted room service the whole time. And he said, this is crazy. They were annoyed because they were busy doing whatever they were doing. So that's one type of servant. Then there's a better servant. What's the better servant? The better servant is that he's devoted, and he can even delight in the fact that the master is happy. So when he was able to satisfy his master, he feels pleasure. That's a devoted servant. But then there's a child, and a good child. The difference between this, the servant could be happy that my master is satisfied, but the servant doesn't feel warm because his master is now warmed. The child feels warm because his father is warm now. He's drinking hot tea. The child delights in the pleasure of the warmth because the child is an extension of the father. So the father feels warm in the hot tea. The child also delights in that warmth. The servant doesn't have the pleasure. The servant fulfilled the will, not the pleasure, because he can't identify with the pleasure. If he wants a cold water and he's the child feels the satisfaction of the cold water. The servant doesn't feel how devoted he is. For that you have to be one, and only then, that's what a Yid is able to. He can delight in the Ebershter's Tainug. That's total assimilation. They're separated. Because they're already fixed in a keli. Hamagbilim that limits. Especially when they come down in bodies, then they collapse completely. And these are the Nephilim. Now we'll take a break. Yossi ran away right before the break. And we're just going to finish. It's very, very quick, the next piece. This is our mimer. All of Yiddishkeit in this mimer. inviting everybody to the Shir. But I wasn't telling them.
Oh, good. I feel really simple.
I overestimated the Yisroel kugel crowd. I know it's four large kugels, and I only needed one and a half.
If you want to eat so much, because there's going to be enough other people now, I know that people some portions.
So hard to know because 2 years ago, Torben and I had a huge crowd and we had enough food. Since that, my wife got panicked, so she said, it's big. Last year we had a very small crowd by me. So Torben and I did this year also, for the people came later, so we had a meal with a small crowd.
But like the meal is a certain window of time. It's not for the dancing. So it's
Yeah.
people aren't going to be eating at that time. It's hard to know.
Better to have a little more than that, a little less, I would say. Okay. So now we conclude here. Perek Gimel. Now, v'hinei kedei liyos hashras hashchina bebeis hamikdash. In order for there to be the hashra of the Shechina in the Beis Hamikdash, Hashem Amar Lishkain, Hashem said to dwell in a house. What he means over here is, Pepashtus, how can Hashem, who is infinite and boundless, reveal himself in a physical setting? Obviously, it's a very big descent on God's end. That's what he wants. He wants to reveal himself down here. And we're the only ones who can receive him and accept his true oneness and exclusivity as being and therefore melt into him and do his will. So this is only Shaykh to Nishmas Yisroel, fine. We do it with our bodies, in this physical world, around the physical Beis Hamikdash. But how can that happen? So David HaMelech prepared this song, and not just a song, but he prepared what's called the Chanukas Habais. Chanukas Habais is the inauguration, the dedication of the Habais. He's going to explain what's the idea of having an inauguration for anything, particularly inauguration for something, a house, or what's the idea of making this Chanukah? So he says like this, it's similar, it comes from the word chinuch. Chinuch means to educate. And it's compared to the way we educate a child. When we educate a child, we begin the education process. We take the child to school. The first day a kid goes to school, it's a very, very big change in the kid's life and their whole mode of existence. Till now, they ran around careless. Now they're going to have to sit in a chair, learn and study and be part of a greater group and then be disciplined and behave and work hard. And this great change, in order to make such a change in a child, in a human's life, you need to have an extra energy to do that, an extra empowerment. The child basically has to do it really, 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 really willfully. If the kid doesn't do it willfully, if he doesn't have a big opening in his soul, in his being for this change, means you can't force it. There has to be a strong, willful desire for it. So that's what the whole idea of doing a chinuch is, that the first day a kid went to school, it would come along with a lot of candy. And the family would all go, and it's a minhag. You bring a kid to cheder, the Rebbe puts honey on the letters, and all the kids come, and the malach, and they throw candies, and it say that the malach is the one who's throwing the candies, the angel. And the kid gets all these prizes, and the attention, and the love, and his father and his mother comes, and his brothers, and his sisters, and his family. Everybody's taking pictures and videos, and he's the whole... He thinks going to school is going to be like that every day. Then the next day he's on a school bus in Fartik, you know. The point over here is that he should have a desire to do something, to make this unusual change. That's the idea. The Mittler Rebbe takes the example even further. He says, when it's even more so when a girl is going to leave her father's house and she's going to go live with a strange man. I mean, she's getting married. And she didn't date him in the olden days, you know, it was all arranged shidduchim, you know, she maybe saw him once, you know, spoke to him for 7.5 minutes, and they were already chassid and kala, so, you know, and then they have to suddenly leave her house and go live with this guy. So in the beginning, the father, the parents come, they sit, they have coffee and this and the house, they have the whole family, they make a whole kind of, and once her parents are there, support her and so on and so forth, she's kind of got accustomed to be with her husband. And then after they leave, she's there already. She accepted it already. So the same is also, he says, is when we did the Chanukas HaMizbeach. What was the Chanukas HaMizbeach? We find when they dedicated the Mishkan, they brought the Nasi of the 12 tribes, each one of them brought a whole big package of gifts for Hashem, karbanos. A ton of oxen and sheep and lambs, and then they brought things they never brought, silver trays and silver bowls filled with flour mixed with oil, gold spoons filled with ketores, and these special karbanos. They all did the same thing, but it was like a huge gift. 12 days. And it's called the Chanukas HaMishkan. So what's the idea behind it? Every karban you bring elicits a divine reaction, a godly response. There is the regular stuff that are going to be daily, the regular, and then there is the extraordinary stuff that they brought on these 12 days, which caused extraordinary godly revelation. What was the point of it? The Shekhinah is that child or that girl who has to leave her father's house, which is the higher abode. The Shekhinah is going to leave the spirits above, move into a physical here, earthy place. Like the little child who is going to school, going away from his mother's home. The Shekhinah, which is Malchus, this little child, is going away from the Chachma and the Bina, from the world of Atzilus, down over here. The only way she's going to go is if the first time she goes, her father and her mother and everybody comes along with her. Chachma comes and Bina comes, and all these powerful revelations of Atzilus that were never in the Mishkan, but only on the first day, opening like, moon bounce, cotton candy, free cotton candy, first day of school, free hot dogs are being given out. So everybody's coming. Here it's not so much that everybody should come, it's that the Shekhinah should be enticed to come down. She feels comfortable because the entire heavens are, she's scared to come down to earth. But if the whole heaven is coming along with her, with the whole entourage, she's comfortable. They're going. They're all walking her towards. And that's why they made this big thing by the Chanukas HaMizbeach the first time by the Mishkan. The same when David HaMelech was preparing for Shlomo HaMelech, when he was going to inaugurate the Beis HaMikdash, the same thing happened. It says Shlomo HaMelech shechted 120,000 animals on one day. It was like unbelievable what was going on. And this was all to bring down unbelievable revelation from above. It's all to acclimate the Shekhinah to dwell in the Beis HaMikdash. And the next time it happened was after the Yevanim, the Greeks, desecrated the temple and caused the Shekhinah to depart in their desecration. So afterwards they came back in, called Hanukkah, and they rededicated. What did they have to do? Again, it's called a rededication. It's called Hanukkah. And what do? We read the Karbanos of the Nesiim, even though we're not bringing it physically. We read it every day of Hanukkah because we're causing, through the reading it, it's as if we brought it, and it's causing, again, these big, big lights to come down to rededicate ourselves, because to bring the Shekhinah back down into the world during that time. They brought this idea of Chanukas Habais. What's this Chanukah? It's like education. Educate a child according to his way. When you educate a child to learn, you don't begin the first day with learning, you begin the first day with candy. Or a little bit of learning, but mainly, that's what's going to be all the time in school. The way we educate a child, we go on to the next page, with some kind of addition. By some kind of a closeness. We give him a gift. The same is also in the Chanukah of the Beis HaMikdash, or Mishkan and the Mishkan. There was something added to the carbon tamid, which is the daily stuff. Shnei kavasim kilchasam, the two sheep that are kilchasam all the time. Shebe Mishkan hisnadvu hanesiim par ben bakar, because the two in the Mishkan, the Nesiim, were the ones that offered an ox, ulazevach hashlamim, and for the shlamim sacrifices. That's what they did by the time of the Mishkan. Shlomo Melech offered 120,000 sheep. These physical offerings elicited and brought down added lights, elyonim, supernal lights, sheyardu begilu hashchina. They descended together with the revelation of the Shekhinah. Shaloya Shekhinah bovad yarda. So not only will the Shekhinah herself go down, elaim toisefes oiris elyonim, together with added lights, added revelations from above that are even higher than the Shekhinah, sheyardu ima, that went down with her. Look at the Chanukah Mamar where the Alter Rebbe explains this. Zois Chanukas HaMizbeach actually is not a Chanukah mimer, is Parshas Nosei mimer. In any case, now the Parsha of the Nesiim, he says, it's stated explicitly in the Torah, the korban of every prince, of every head of a tribe. Zer korban Nachshon, Zer korban Nesanel. This was the korban of Nachshon, the next one was the korban of Nesanel. Chulu. Ubakulam Ksiv, and by all of them it says, Ma hayu karbanoisa. What was their karbanos? Even though they all brought the exact same korban. It's Parshas Nasa was the longest parsha in the Torah because it has a repetition of the exact same gift, but it specifies it individually by each one. It should have said, so did Nesanel, so did the next, so did the next. That's it. Why do we have to state it 12 times if it was all equal? The idea is the reason why it was written for generations. It was known before God that the Beis HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. And we're going to have to pay it up with our lips. Our lips is going to be considered as if we're offering. In other words, when we want to inaugurate today, how do we inaugurate? You're right. For then, it was enough that they did it, and the Torah could have just said. But the Torah wants to give us an opportunity to do it any other time when we want to once a year bring down all these lights to empower a Chanukah time, to empower us, or Parshas Nasai. We need a dedication to inaugurate, to start something new in our own Mishkans. So therefore, by reading it, it's as if we actually bring it down. Anybody that's Oisik B'Teres Oila, Chulu. Like we do it on Chanukah. In your Karbanas and Asiyim, the Karbanas of the Nasiyim, the future Chanukah. And why do we do it on Chanukah? Because Chanukah requires a rededication. Then there was also the Chanukah of the Mizbeach, because the idol worshippers, then the pagans, the Greeks, parts or Yud Gimel Pratzos, they breached 13 breaches. They breached 13 places in the walls. And when the kingdom of the Chashmonon prevailed over them, and they were were victorious over them. They needed a education to bring the Shechina back, because she got unaccustomed to dwelling down here. She left Earth. She went back up there. Because at the time of their breaching, the Shechina departed. They create a Torah Parshas and Nesiyim, and when we read the Parsha of the Nesiyim Mamshichim, we redraw Lias Hashras Hashchina. The Shechina should come down, not just, but in order to bring the Shechina down, we got to bring her down with all of her accompaniment. When we're calling in the Torah, means we're calling God. That's the reason why we need to say it every day. Why do we need it? But hold on, why is it enough one day? What do you need 12? One time. The answer is because the Shechina, even though she's one Shechina, but she manifests, the whole gather of Shechina is that she acclimates herself to the creation. So the creation is set up based on 12 months, 12 days, 12, it's really, the 12 represent 6 directions, and the diagonals that go to them. So therefore, the way the Shechina manifests itself is through 12 channels. That's why we find that the Merkava has 12 animals, 12 cattle. There's three beasts on each one of the 4 sides. So what does that mean? So that means also that amongst the Jewish people, that the Shechina dwells amongst us. The Shechina doesn't dwell in each and every one of us the same. In Shevet Reuven, there's a unique dwelling of the Shechina in a Reuven way, and in Shevet Naphtali, it's a unique way that's shaykh to Shevet Naphtali. And that's what each one of them needed to bring down their chelik of the Shechina that's shaykh to them, so that when they, what's the point of it? So that when they go to the Mishkan, they can dissolve into their flame that suits their style of their soul. Yud Beis Pamim L'Chala Yud Beis Shvatim, to all 12 Shvatim. Laham Shecha Bittel, to bring the bit, I'll give you a simple example. I can come into a shul, and we're familiar with the songs, and it's a type of thing, and then you can dissolve in the singing. But if you go into a Yemenite shul and you're not used to it, it might be nice singing, but it's not going to dissolve. It's not going to have that impact on you because you're not Yemenite. But for Yemenite Jews, that's their song that they'll sing, and if they come and hear Ashkenazic singing, it's like, what kind of davening is this? It doesn't inspire, it doesn't pull them in. So each shevet had its also spiritual character. Like the Ner B'fnei Avuka, sheyesh Yud Beis Avukos. There's 12 different styles of Avuka, Keneged Yud, meaning manifestations of Shechina, Keneged Yud Beis Shvatim. So we also know there's 12 permutations of Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. There's 12 permutations of Yud Kei Vav Kei. 12 months each one. Keneged Yud Beis Shvatim, Shakol Shevet, who inyan Avuka B'fnei Yatzma. Every Shevet has its own Avuka, its own blaze. If you find that by Kriyas Yamsov also, Nikra Yam Yud Beis Gzarim, the sea split to 12 passageways. So every Shevet B'silasa Yachav, and everybody can go up in their pathway. Kol Chad Lefim Shiur, everybody in their own path. That's why it also says by the Karbanis, by the Nesiyim, in Medrash Rabbah, Al Kol Karban Shal Kol Nasi, on every Karban of every Nasi, even though they brought the exact same Karban, everybody had different intentions. Inyan v'kavana b'fnei atzmai. Every single one for the same gift had a complete different intention. Ein Sham Barichas Gadol. Rashi, for instance, gives one example of what they represent, these karbanis. But each one had different intentions, why they brought these 3 oxen and these three. In a Pirish Mizmor Shir. So this is the idea of Chanukas, Habais. This is, in other words, we know what Beis HaMikdash means. A place where God will dwell. A place where neshamas will come and melt into God. And we will do that and bring the Shekhinah down into our bodies as well. And that serves the whole purpose of creation. We understand what the Chanukah means. To initiate it, we need a very powerful opening day, so to speak, to make it happen. We need a powerful opener. Now he's going to explain, once you have a Beis HaMikdash, we have 2 types of song. We have Mizmor, Shir. What's Mizmor, Shir? Because when we said in the beginning of the mimer, who sings? The Shamas sing. When we melt into God, it's done through a song. Who sings? The Shamas sing and Malachim sing. Our song is much deeper. It causes us to melt in a much deeper way than the Malachim. But the Malachim also get excited. They come close. They're not getting as far as we are, but they're. That's why their song is called Mizmor and our song is called Shir. What's the difference between Mizmor and Shir? Mizmor is song that is sung through musical instruments. Shir is vocal singing. So what is the difference between music coming from musical instruments and vocal singing? Musical instruments means there's an instrument. Song is sound without the instruments, even though technically you can say the body, the person, the vocal cords, that's the instrument. But still, it's being emitted pure sound. Here, it's also human sound. You're blowing, let's say. You're blowing a wind instrument. You're blowing. It's just that it's not just coming out from the person. It's being channeled through a clarinet, through a trumpet, through a saxophone, or whatever it is. And that's helping create the sound. That's the difference. The Malachim, their song is like musical instruments because they have a keli. The Neshamis, their song is like, without a musical instrument, like vocal singing. Mizmor, Shir, the 2 songs. Why are both songs by the Beis HaMikdash? Because once the Shekhinah dwells in the Beis HaMikdash, and this becomes grand central station of all of creation and all of existence, this becomes the Wi-Fi center, not just for Neshamas, but for Malachim as well. So everybody is singing towards this place. This is the place that's attracting the song of Malachim and Neshamas. Before the Beis HaMikdash stands, it's in heaven, but then the whole Shekhinah dwells down here. So down here is the place that has the Mizmor and the Shir. It was reflected, he's going to say, in the song of the Beis HaMikdash as well, because you had 2 Leviim would sing, but the musical performances of the Leviim was a blend of the vocalists, and then there was the instruments, and it represented the Mizmor and the Shir that was being sung. There's a difference between Mizmor and Shir. What is sung through musical instruments, benevel v'chiner, with a harp. Benevel, I think, is cymbals, v'chiner, and a harp. Nikra haniganahu koil zimra. That's called the song of Zimra. Metzachu koil zimra hayotzim na kli zemer. It's a song that's coming from a keli, from an instrument. V'shir hu bepeh, and a song is purely from the mouth. Hakoil hayotzim hapeh, the voice, the sound comes from the mouth. She'enem alubish bekeli, that's not in a vessel. V'zahu mizmor shir pirish mizmor or shir samalachim. Mizmor is the song of the malachim ha'oim demiru ma'shalaylam, who stand in the highest. They're powerful. Their song is like unbelievable. But they're considered from the external part of the world. They have a tzura, they have a nefesh. Tzura is more the spirit, but they also have a chomer. They also have a physical. They have not a physical, but they have a somewhat of a substance to them. Or vikeli, light and vessel. So their song that they sing and praise and beautify as Shem Kavod Malchusa, his glorious kingdom, Yisbarach Betodo, with thanks, the Koil Zimran and the sound of singing, Nikra B'chinas Mizmor, that's called a Mizmor, Metzachu HaZemer HaMalubish Ba'akeli. It's a Zemer that's enclosed in a Keli. Shem B'chinas Chomer V'Tzura. It's Chomer and Tzura, again. Lights and vessels, energy and container. And that's why they don't achieve complete nullification. To become absorbed in their source. Like a flame into its blaze. Because they have too much of an identity, of a keli, of a limitation, to allow them to do that. Their keli stops them. And that's why also their bittul nirgash. Even their bittul is loud. As we said earlier, the Navi can hear it. Because even their bittul is a public bittul. It's not a quiet bittul, because they have self-awareness even in their bittul. They're conscious of their bittul, so therefore it's considered a noisy bittul. Nirgash b'koil rash gadol. Even when they're becoming batal, they let everybody know that they're becoming batal, because they have a self, that they have a lot of a self into them. Hakol mesibis hakeli, all because of their keli. That's them. B'shir u'b'chenes hashir shal haneshama. He said the shir is the shir of the neshama shebegan Eden. Sheyotzim b'shir v'nemshacham b'shir. They're being drawn to God into the blaze with a shir, with a song. Bebitul amiti, with a silent bittul, with a real bittul, with a true bittul. Kebitul aner b'fnei avuka, like a little flame that's getting absorbed in a big blaze. Doesn't make any noise. It's quiet, silently, just gets drawn into it. Because they don't have a chaymer and a keli canal. That's why their song is called a shir. Because it's not in a keli. They don't have thickness, they don't have coarseness. Look in those two places. We once learned a whole mimer on that. The difference between the Levium singing and even higher than them is the Kohanim singing. Chassidecha, usually the Kohanim didn't sing. But David HaMelech once said, I'm going to switch it around. I'm going to have the Kohanim sing. And they're called the Chassidecha. Kohanim are called Chassidecha, as it says, because they come from the side of Chesed. Levium are from the side of Gevura. Tumecha ve'urecha le'ish Chassidecha is referring to Aaron HaKohen. We just read it. The Kohanim shu b'chenes al yoyne yoyser, it's higher. It's more edel than the Levium. So similar to that difference of the Kohanim and the Levium is the difference between Neshamas and Malachim. Valderach ze Yovam Mailos b'chenas Shir al b'chenas Mizmor. Gam beParadis be'erach hakinuyim erach Shir Pirush kishir hu b'chachma. It's higher. Achine b'migdash hayagilu shchina makor anasham. Now, but now he's going to explain why both of them were there. Why do you have Mizmor and Shir? Because since the Migdash was the Gilui of the Shechina, who is the source of all of creation, and therefore the source of the souls and also of the Malachim. Makar HaNeshamas v'Malachim, the source of the Neshamas and the Malachim. Kamashakasav Malchuscha Malchus Kol Olamim. Your Shechina, your Malchus, Shechina Malchus is the same. Your Shechina, your Malchus is the kingship of all the worlds, both the Pnimius and the Chitzonius. Therefore, L'kach nema b'Chanukas Habais. That's why it says by the Chanukas of the Habais, Mizmor Shir, both together. Shayim is Galasham Shneim, over there was a revelation of both. B'chenas ha-Mizmor Shalom Malachim, the Mizmor of the Malachim, v'Ashir Shalom Neshamas, and the vocal singing of the Neshamas, B'tzashem Makar Kulam Ugilu Shchina, the source of all the singing, and that's drawing them, the magnet that's pulling them to sing in the first place, is the Shechina Baruch Hu, Shenes Gala b'Migdash, that was revealed in the Migdash, Keniskali, as we said before. And he says, so literally was in the base of Migdash, B'Shir Shal Leviim, in the song of the Leviim, Sheneschalku lebeis chalakim, they were divided into two groups. Those who sang with their mouth. By the way, the singing with the keli didn't even require Leviim. Musical, those who can play with music, according to, I think there might be different opinions, but I think there's definitely an opinion that says that you don't have to be a Levi to play, but the sing you have to be from the Leviim. The Gemara has an argument. What's the main shira? Is it the vocal singing or the musical? And now the question is, why does it sometimes say shir mizmor? You find sometimes that in certain Tehillim, Psalms, it says shir mizmor, shir before mizmor, and at other times it says mizmor shir. It's a shir mizmor of Korach. So what's the difference? Since mizmor is the external that's enclosed in a keli. Vashir b'pnimius, and shir is the pnimius shebilti keli that doesn't have a keli. Lakach, therefore, kishemetztarchem le'eschaber yachad, when we want to bring this together, we want to create a harmony in both types of singing. Ubebeis panim. The question is, who is instigating? What starts first? For example, in music, you can have sometimes a composition where the music starts first, and then the singer starts singing. The vocalists come in afterwards. Or you can have the opposite. Sometimes you have just a vocal sound, and then suddenly the music slowly would start coming in from the background. You have sometimes that's a composition that works that way. In other words, are you working your way from your pneumius first? And if you have a concert with a singer, the vocal singer, if it's a good singer, they're the pneumius of the presentation. The chitzonius is the accompaniment, is the music. So the question is, what is inspiring what? Are you starting from the pneumius that pulls the chitzonius in, or are you starting with the chitzonius and pulls the pneumius? That's the question. Since it's a yichud based upon him, oisha elyon yered lamata, or the one above can go down below, or yatachtan misal lamayla, the one below can rise. When it says Mizmor Shir, hu b'chenes halah, means elevation. So first the malachim start. Shalam Mizmor likolol ba'ashir. First you have the Mizmor, the malachim singing, and they want to be absorbed and integrated into the deeper song of the neshamis. U'leschaber boy, and to become attached to it. The Shir Mizmor works the opposite. Shekashu elyon ashir yored lamata. The one above goes down below to inspire the more external kind of singing. L'schaber elav, to attach itself to him and to elevate him. Mizmor Shir di'iu kafel. Shir is double. It's a double singing. Mizmor Shir liyam Shabbos, it's a double singing. So you see this idea. Pirush b'migdash melech sham b'shem Rab Chaim Vital. The Pirush Shir di'iu kafel. What does it mean? A double song. Hainu yichud zun. It's the yichud of zuchre nukva, which is the same idea that we're talking about, but on a higher level. Because Malchus is called nukva. She's the source of kelim. So she's more shaykh to the malachim. Zuchra, there's an air anpin, is more energy compared to Malchus. That's why Shir Kafel is the yichud of both them together. And that's the idea of Mizmor Shir. In the lower realms, it's the malachim singing together with the neshamas. And we see that by Kedusha, what do we say? Yachat kula. We're going to sing together with them. We're going to sing together with the malachim. Some of the songs that we sang on Yom Kippur was constantly saying how the malachim up there are singing and we're singing along down here. Vavisa Shira, you want Tehillah, you want the songs from the Kritza Chayim, and they're singing and we're singing together. We're singing together with them. So that's but we always take it that we have the honor to sing with them. It's really the opposite. They have the honor to sing with us. Ayin shekasas some meaning Mizmor Shir Yom Shabbos, Mizmor Shir came which Tamid Yom Shkol Shabbos ve'elov mizamrim b'chenas Mizmor Shir v'havim v'alderasu inyan Shir Chritza Habais. Okay. Gam Mizmor Uloshen Zemer. Mizmor is also, there's another meaning. Mizmor is also Loshen Zemer v'yischalkos. We said before Mizmor is a keli, but Mizmor has another meaning. It also comes from the word of splitting up. Why? Kamashakasav. The karmachal loy sizmor. Your vineyard you should not prune. Sizmor means pruning. So what are you doing when you're pruning? You're separating parts that don't belong from parts. You're cutting away. So tizmor. So zemer means to separate. Oh, so he says that's more applicable when it goes into a keli. When it goes into a keli, for example, when you're blowing a sound, it's a simple sound. But when it goes into the clarinet or into the thing, by the various different movements, it's getting that one sound is getting broken into different sounds. So the keli is splitting it. That's what the keli does. It splits and it forms. Shehu loshen pirud v'yischalkus. Shel hanigin. Shenechtak. It gets split. L'chalakim ketanim into smaller pieces. The toicha keli in the keli. Excuse me. Okay. Which isn't the case in the song. The same as above. Okay. So this is the Mizmor Shir. Now, what does the David HaMelech say? What? For example, the shofar leaves the sound as it is because it is a keli, but not much of a keli. It's pashut. Pirish ki delisani. And the sound and and what is the meaning of dilisani? You've lifted. What does David HaMelech say? Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habais. Now what? Aramim Hashem. I'm going to exalt you, God. Kidilisani. You've lifted me up. And now finally the malachim can't laugh at me anymore. They're not going to rejoice over me. So what does it mean in Ki Dilisani? You've lifted me. So he's saying the word Dilisani is Gavaldik. Has three perushim. The word Dilisani has three meanings. Shatam l'chol zeh. What's the reason for all of that? It's Yisroel no ma'alas hanashamas. Ki Dilisani, because the neshamas are greater than the malach. Ala malachim on the malach. V'Yisroel nazeh, and this greatness, unirmas b'milas Dilisani. The word Dilisani explains all facets of the greatness of the neshamas over the malachim based on what we learned. Sheyesh by gimel perushim. There's three perushim. Echad maloshen isroimamus v'isnasus. One meaning in the word dilisani means to lift something up. Bepchenas lamay lamayla, to elevate something up. Habais maloshen dalos. Dilisani also comes from the word dal. Dal means poverty. Vanios. V'agimel, and the third one, maloshen daloi, dala means to draw. Like when you're drawing a pail, it says by, Rivka went down and she was, or by the daughters of Yisroel, she thanked, Moshe came and he was dole for them. Lashon she'iva, this is a lashon of drawing. V'chol ha'gimel perushim em emes, all three are true. V'em gimel ma'ila sheyesh l'neshama ala malach. There are three qualities that neshamas have over malach. One of them is elevated, and that is ki haneshama hirama v'nasa b'makayra l'mayla. The neshama is higher than the malach. She comes from the inner world, not from the chitzonis. Shehu mebchenes pnimius. Neshamas come from the pnimius. Ma'ashenken hamalachim the malachim. So that's the first pitch. We're from a much higher place. Ulezois, and that's the reason why we can bow down and they can't bow. They can't bow like we can bow. That's why her bowing and her bittul in her source, is deeper, stronger. It's without noise, and it's complete. Literally like a flame in front of a big fire, in which it becomes completely assimilated in the big blaze. So that's because the neshamas are from a higher, deeper place. Habais. Maloshen dalos v'anios means poor. And this is this is a very positive poverty. This is meaning that you're poor means you're lightweight. That's the poverty. You're not carrying baggage. And the richness means you're loaded with stuff. The malachim, they carry weight. The neshamas are poor, they don't have anything to carry, they don't have any physicality to it. That's their poverty. They're naked souls. There's no body there. No clothing, nothing there to hold them. Neshama is without a garment. Doesn't have a guf and a keli that's going to limit her. Which isn't the case with the angels. They have bodies. Their spirits. As we said over there, wind and fire. So, in other words, these two things work together. But it's the other side of the coin. But it's the same idea. We're from a deeper place, and in that deeper place, there is no bodies. And that's Dilisani. And you've given me that, and the Malachim don't have that. And that's the reason why we can melt into him completely, and they can't. Va'agimel Maloshin She'iva. Now, why are we that way? Because originally, we're drawn like you draw water from same idea like fire. When fire is taken from fire, it's the same fire. Remember we said that's why it can melt into the fire, because water is also the same thing. Now water is in the source, and then it's unidentifiable. It's all part of it. Then when you draw the water out, it becomes distinct. But you can take that same water and pour it right back in, and it's part of the bigger water. Right? Because it's drawn. It's not something else. It's the same substance. It's not like plucking a stone out of the water. That's a different story. This is the water. They were drawn from the source when they were excavated, and they're drawn from water. The malachim come from malchus, because malchus is all about being a king. There has to be a creation. Malachim don't have a higher source than malchus. So malchus creates them to be something. Neshamas, they come from chachma. pnimius of Elokus. The Eibishter where he is himself. No worlds. Chachma is in the itself. No worlds. And the Shamas are part of his existence. Like a child comes from the father's brain, from the Chachma. That's called water. It's called Yam HaChachma. It's the sea of water. And that's where the Neshamas are drawn. That's the reason why they're pnimius. That's the reason why Delisani, why we're elevated. And that's also the reason why we're not created, meaning we're just drawn. We're not fixed with a keli, with a real Hagbala. That means that's why we're weightless. The other Pirush of Delisani, poor. All three Pirushim are really expressing the same idea. One is talking mitzad shirish, that where do we begin? Because we're being drawn out of you, and a continuation of you, but being drawn from that source, from Yama Chachma. Then, as a result of that, we exist in a very elevated existence. Even when we're up there, we're in an elevated existence over the neshamas, over the malachim. In addition to that, we're lightweight, and we don't have that keli that defines us. And therefore, we're able to bring the Shekhinah down here and have the last laugh on the malachim. That's it. Like it says, Vatima lekada. It says by Rivka, she filled her jug. Kad min yama chachma. One jug of the sea of chachma. It says that the entire Torah that we have is only one jug full. That's the idea. Kad. Kad is chav dalet sifrei de'iraisa. Entire scripture, 24 books of the Torah. Its foundation. What's the foundation of the soul? What's her foundation? She is founded in the holy mountains. Holy mountain represents she's rooted very, very high. Hi chachmi Allah. Kodesh chachma. Kodesh is called chachma. Is the supernal chachma. Makar haTorah. We're rooted in the same place the Torah is rooted, in chachma. That's why we can receive the Torah, because it clicks with us, because we're rooted in that same bittul, in that same place. Makar haTorah. ShaTorah nishava misham. The Torah was also taken from there. Kad min ayam. One kad. And that's why we say Yisroel v'Araisa v'Kutsha b'Richu Kul Echad. We're all one. Kamashikasa v'Torah Sam bi Yisroel. The Eibishter puts the Torah into us. Why? Uksiv v'Zois lifnim bi Yisroel v'Ein Zois el Torahs. That v'Zos lifnim bi Yisroel is in the pnimius of Yidden. Shu mushreshes b'Nishmas Yisroel. It's mushresh in Nishmas Yisroel, because we and the Torah are all rooted in that place of bittul and place of total oneness with Hashem. B'Makayim v'Pnimiyusam. Well, Zois ruyim hem. They are fitting. Lashras hashchina, for the Shekhinah to dwell in them, or the Kabbalah Torah, and to receive the Torah, yoyser ma malachim, more than malachim. What a good way to start Bereshis. From Bereshis already, we set the rules of who's the boss, who's going to call the shots. Sorry, I told them. Chassidus always trapezach with the malachim. You should know. No. First, you have the mile of the neshamas where they're sharing without the guf. But then the chiddush is in the Shras Hamikdash is that we can bring that shira down even here, because we have because the Beis Hamikdash brings the Shekhinah down and facilitates that bittul to be experienced even while we're in bodies, b'tachtainim, in this world.
And the shir that's expressed at that time
is probably. It's probably the shira. We're able to go out. The point of it here is, even though we have a keli, but we're able to go completely out of our kelim. We're able to ascend the keli completely, as if there is no keli, and yet do that with the keli. That's the chiddush. We're able to completely transcend the limitations of the body and do it with the body, and that's the ultimate dira for the Eibishter in this world.
So, malachim are kind of an intermediate.
Yes. And they facilitate, they enable us to connect to, yeah. They find them on the lower ones, and then there's even the malachim. There's so many different.
They have the wheel that's just a very large diameter wheel that connects earth to heaven.
somehow, some kind of wheel.
If you don't know how, sure. Just making stuff up. But, Jewish separations with less
So I said at the beginning, I learned already all the mimerim on Bereshis. We taught not all the mimerim in Torah Oyer on Bereshis. And I figured, I said, this one is in V'zois HaBracha, but it's a Bereshis mimer. It's more shaykh to Bereshis than V'zois HaBracha. I don't know what the connection of it is to V'zois HaBracha is. What?
You're not going to repeat the Bereshis?
I'm trying to always learn new stuff that I didn't teach. Everything I taught already I have online. So, actually, I don't have any mimer. I said, we don't have any mimer that in Torah Or that was not learned until Parshas Vayeshev. Then we have a bunch of Chanukah that we didn't learn. There's a few on Chanukah. This was also Chanukah. Be'ezras Hashem, we have to learn different mimerim. Meaning there's so many mimerim for the other Rabbeim, but I don't have.
The Memorial of Bereshis was probably pretty dense.
They're all geschmack.
No, just so many of them because Bereshis is so dense.
No, it's interesting that not necessarily more. Not necessarily, no. Okay. Yep. Agavald.
Sorry I made you rush to the end. That was the best.
No, that's good. I'm happy I got to rush because I'm also a little. So next week, Thursday, I'm not here.